Tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terror Boards over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with, talk to. I really like them.
What's going on, everyone? Turn 2 Terribles podcast here. It is February 2nd, or February 13th, 2023. We got a good show for you guys tonight. Hope everybody's good on this Monday. We got 2023 iRacing World of Outlaw champion Tyler Schell on the show tonight. And here's to that. And we also got 358 driver out of Central PA, Ashley Cappetta on later. She'll be on around 9 o'clock. So hope everybody's feeling okay on this Super Monday, the little hangover after. How you guys doing?
I mean, I'm great. I got a lot of sleep. I didn't even watch the second half of that game. Woke up, saw the score, went back to sleep again. Didn't care either way how it ended, and I was glad I didn't have a dog in that fight. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I know that meant a lot for you, but for me, I just went to bed early. Feeling good.
Did you see that A.J. Brown touchdown?
It was beautiful. It's exactly why he is on that team, and I expect nothing less, to be honest.
That made it all worth it for me. Chris, how you doing?
I'm all right. Kind of tired today. Kind of feel a little off, but we'll make it through here.
Well, okay. Well,
so still go Birds though.
Still go Birds, man. They put up a hell of a fight, man. I'm the result sucks, but I'm still really proud of the season that they had. So, so football season in the review. We are full steam ahead on racing season. We had Volusia this past weekend. The season's fully kicked off for All Stars, World of Outlaws, USAC starting tonight. Icebreaker in just less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks away from Icebreaker. It's kind of crazy to think about that already. So we're going to bring on our first guest here. He just fresh coming back from Volusia. Your 2023 iRacing World of Outlaws champion, Tyler Schell. Tyler, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
You got fans in the chat already.
Your
good friend Braden. Seems like, big fan
of
there.
I heard he wanted to be in here, but I guess he didn't win anything.
We like winners, buddy. We like winners. Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming aboard, coming in to join us. And we knew we wanted to have you in here at some point. Oh no, sorry, Tony. I don't mean it. Mostly.
Hey, Donnie Schatz is in a late model tonight, so
yes, we're late model fans now. Jay-Z owes Tony a lot of apologies.
I almost mostly didn't mean it. So welcome in, dude. I'm glad to have you. We knew we wanted to have you on here. Definitely like just trying to fit the schedules and make it all make a lot of sense, and got you on late notice today. We did have another plan for even something that was even more relevantly timed, but we're going to work on that, getting that guest here. So honestly, like this is perfect timing for you as well.
Yeah.
So first of all, if anybody doesn't know, Tyler Schell is, as you see the background here, he is the 2022, I guess. Is that 2023?
2023. Yeah.
Okay, even though, that's confusing. It's like the NBA season. Which championship do they win?
Yeah.
Yep.
Never understood that. So the 2022-2023 iRacing World of Outlaw champ, Tyler Schell. First, tell us a little bit about the series. How many races is it? Kind of how your season went, and how you got here. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
It's 10 weeks, 10 long weeks, no breaks in there, and yeah, the season went pretty good. Had some ups and downs, but was able to rebound from the downs and capitalize on any other people's mistakes and come out with the championship.
How many races did you win over the 10 races?
I just won. I won the last
The
race.
last one. So, and that's what I thought, and I followed it. Like, it just so happened that the timing of those races were while we were finishing up or in the middle of this at every week. So I kept up, but it was from more of a distance this year than any other. I felt like this year was very unique versus most. The last few years have been very top dominant at the top of the point standings. Even if there was a good battle at the top, I felt like there was a couple drivers that really kind of pulled away from the field a little bit. And I feel like this year everybody was kind of there. I mean, would you agree with that there just wasn't
Yeah,
this like top 2, 3 heavy dominance?
yeah, I would agree. I was looking at the points, and this is the least amount of points it took to win a championship by like 20 or 30 points, and that's pretty big over 10 weeks. Yeah, I thought I was pretty much out of it about week 6, but the last 2 weeks, first and second, had 2 bad weeks, and I had 1 good week and 1 decent week and was able to capitalize on it.
And where I see that being very interesting, and a name that everybody knows, in if you're followed iRacing and you follow the World of Outlaws, especially Alex Bergeron is a name that all of us know, and some may not in this world, but how many championships has he won?
3.
3-time
But
world
he
champ.
hasn't finished worse than second in 6 years.
So he was there this year, right? He was
Yeah.
participating. He was there. He won Volusia again, or no? Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
won
won Volusia
Volusia
again
and
to open the
Knoxville.
season. Won 2 races, and this season to me felt like you had all those same kind of guys there. Cardwell, some of the Swindell Speed Lab guys, James Edens, yourself, Alex Bergeron. Same cast of characters, but very much a wild card type season where anything on any given week could happen, that you didn't have that consistent up top. And I think really what won this for you was consistency. You were there, and I think this year more than ever, just being there was as important as winning these races. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's consistency. I think didn't make a race yet. He didn't make Weedsport, and Alex had what week was that? I think he got wrecked at Lincoln and that um Fairbury and Weedsport. So that's 3 bad weeks. Plus he got what 10th the last week. So that's 4 bad weeks for him. That usually doesn't happen. So and I finished outside top 10 twice, and one of them's because I got wrecked. Another one I just wasn't good. So I just finished inside top 10, inside top 5, and just stayed there and put myself in position for them to mess up.
So putting yourself in position, that's a good way to put this. Talk to me about Charlotte. Tell everybody a little bit about how that night went, what you needed every step of the way, and what happened.
I needed to pretty much have a perfect night, and Alex not have a perfect night, and went second quick qualifying, which it don't pay any points, but put me on the pole of a heat, and he qualified 20 mid 20s. I don't know. He started sixth in his heat race, so in the heat I won, and he got fifth, I think. So there's 4 points I gained. So I needed like 19, which was like I think 7 spots in the feature I had to beat him by. And then I ended up winning, and then I think he got 10th, so I beat him by like 8 points or 10 points or something.
It's unbelievable. I mean, like the race, you got to have it. You did everything you could do, and you did it. And then just where he finishes, where he finished, right? So now, did you win that race going away? How did that race end up?
Nope, but I won it by I think it was like a hundredth of a second. It was pretty close. We were banging wheels at the line, but at the time, I didn't know that I didn't need to win that. I figured I had to win it, so I was trying everything I could. But in hindsight, I probably could have just got second and not risk getting wrecked. But in the moment, I was all about points and all about finish as high as I could.
Was it worth it to win it in your mind now that you did win it and you didn't wreck?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like looking back, it's also like, yeah, I didn't need it, but I'm certainly not going to not take
Yeah.
it. Right?
Like I kind of like I overlooked that I wasn't even won the race. I was just so focused on the championship. Like I keep forgetting I still won the race too. Like it when I won at Williams Grove, it was felt like I just won the championship, like how I felt this time. So that's for sure.
So has it all set in? I mean, you've had a week, 2 weeks, or 2 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah.
Has it kind of set in? I mean, you kind of went on a little bit of a trip here recently. We're going to get into in a second, but does it feel real? Has it set in for you?
Um, yes and no. Sometimes, like on the plane ride, definitely just get in your mind and definitely sets in there. And then sometimes you kind of just forget about it, and then you come home and the trophy's sitting on the table. So that definitely like just reminds you if you did it, and yeah, it'll set in fully probably in a month or two.
It's pretty cool. So, tell us a little bit about the prize package. Not tell us, but I mean, I know a little bit, but I don't even know if I know everything. So, what's it kind of been since? What did you earn out of that, and thoughts about that?
Um, let's see. I think it was $10,400, and then the trip to Florida. So that was I had left Thursday and got home last night at midnight. So I watched the Super Bowl in the plane, and yeah. But yeah, I got VIP passes to races, plane tickets, hotel paid for, and I got to drive in the pace car. Not
That's
drive,
awesome.
ride in the pace car.
Nice. So, did you get video or photo looking back at the field?
I looked in the. It was hard with how they had the mirrors, but I looked in the mirrors, but I couldn't really get a picture at
What are
all.
your thoughts that Bill Rocky there said you should have worn a sash as the winner? That's great. It could have been Mr. iRacing with a sash. Is that what we're doing?
I could have posed on the stage.
That's great. So how was Volusia, man? First time there?
Yep, first time there.
So how was that experience? I mean, you got the plane ride, you got the VIP in the hotel. That takes some stress out of paying for travel.
Yeah,
But the
100%.
race and the track itself, I mean, we talked a little bit actually this evening in our group chat. We were talking a little bit about kind of, I was giving Volusia a little bit of a hard time, but you're like, hey, you got to see it. So what's your thoughts on that?
It's fast. If it can widen out if it doesn't get rain like it did every day, but
In
it
Florida?
widens out. It's pretty good racing. Just I think the thing you see in person is you can watch the racing from second on back. You don't got to watch the battle for the lead, which was I think the biggest thing. Because I mean, gravel ran away with it pretty much both features. But I mean, if you look at third on back, there's racing the whole time, and that's honestly that's the best part about going in person is you can watch them battles back in the pack that you don't see on TV.
Yeah, I agree completely. And week to week, we go to the races, we see some of that stuff, right? We love it. It's great.
Mhm.
But then when you watch sometimes on Flow with the way Arrow is and 410 racing these days, you get a gravel and he has a really good car and he started up front. It doesn't take long to get to the front. He's
Gone.
sayonara, and you're
Yeah.
all watching, hoping, wondering who's in second, third, and fourth, and maybe
Yeah.
someone will make a race out of this. So, Jimmy, Chris, what do you got for Mr. Tyler?
I have a going into Charlotte. You knew what your situation was. How confident were you? Like how do you feel about Charlotte? Is that one of your better tracks, or doesn't it matter? Or what was your mindset going
Um,
in?
I would say maybe not. Doesn't matter. Like I've ran top 10 there. I haven't competed for a win at all. But I mean, the biggest thing this whole season was I couldn't qualify worth the crap. Like I don't. I think I qualified on front row of a heat race twice, 3 times, but I was able to pass people. That was the first time. That's my best qualifying effort ever in the Pro Series, getting qualifying second. So definitely pulled one out of the hat and was able to run away with it and just kind of hide in second, and then um, I kind of shifted back to fourth there and got lucky and ran the bottom, and I came out in the lead and just never left there.
Uh, Posse tracks are your favorite, right?
Oh, 100%.
Which one?
Well,
Which one?
Port Royal, I would probably say Lincoln or Grove. Port Royal is like it is in real life, then maybe, but on here has a little bit of work to be
Yeah,
done. But
yeah.
maybe in the next build here we can get it back to how it is in real life.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope so.
Yeah. Chris?
No, I was just thinking, like, what would be going through your head there? You said you were racing for the championship. You thought you had the win, so you have no idea where Bergeron is. What is that like in that feature at Charlotte? Navigating it that last as the laps are clicking off, and being aware enough of your situation to not crash yourself, but also be willing to go do that, not knowing you didn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on it, like I didn't realize the points were flipping back and forth for probably half the race, but yeah, I'm glad I didn't see that. It'd been nerve-wracking, but they told me before the race if I needed a position, they would tell me, and they never told me. So
Nice.
kind of just stayed there, and then when the opportunity to get to the lead happened, I took it and ran with it, and never looked back.
Did you so you weren't that nervous? Did you have the leg shake thing going on? You ever have that before?
In the heat, yes. In the feature, I honestly just kind of went numb. I
Yeah.
was numb, and it kind of just I just set in and did what I had to do, and didn't think twice. Just the adrenaline was pumping, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and just driving, right? Just going
Yep.
at it. So, Jimmy actually mentioned something. For everybody out there, where are you from?
Millersburg, PA. So it's about half hour north of Harrisburg.
So we don't have to claim you as posse. You are posse. We just want to make
Yeah,
that clear, right?
yeah,
100%
For
posse.
for all the fans and non-fans of posse out there, this gentleman doesn't need to be claimed because he was born posse. So, just for anything,
Was
and I saw
never
the
not
term.
posse. Was never
I,
not posse.
that's right,
No.
and I saw the term "I posse." I think that should be a
Yep.
thing. So, yeah.
My other question I just thought of. So this is what? How many years have you been in the Pro Series?
4 in sprint cars, 1 in the late models. So
So this is
5.
year 4. What has changed year to year to get you to where you're at now? Obviously, you had a win at Williams Grove, but because I think all year you were consistently in the top 10. You held your own. Like, what was the biggest change from where you started to obviously to get you to a championship?
Mindset, not wrecking, not putting myself into places to get wrecked. Like this is probably the least amount of time I've put in this. Because for most of the season I was full-time student and working 20 hours a week, so I really didn't have much time for this. So, but then about the last 3 weeks, I had a little bit more time on my hands, so I was able to practice a little bit more. But the biggest thing was just being smart and not putting myself into situations to get wrecked and stuff.
You hear that, Braden? Do those, and then maybe we'll have you here someday.
We love you,
So
Braden.
for y'all watching, Braden Eiler is a teammate with Tyler Schell in iRacing. Braden's kind of one of the boys. He's a good dude too. We love Braden. We just like to give him a hard time. And honestly, we all give each other a hard time about it. It's a great part about iRacing and kind of the group that, I'm part of the Brent Marks racing sim team. Tyler Schell's part of Elbows Up. And while we are separate teams, we a lot of times function in some things together. Tyler and I ran 24 Hours Daytona together. We were in one group chat on Facebook together. So we operate. We're definitely 2 different teams. They do their thing. We do our thing. But under one umbrella of sort of that wicked cushion umbrella is where that all started. And so we kind of treat Tyler just like one of us. I mean, one of our guys. So yeah, Braden, I agree there. Especially at
Yeah, a
anywhere
lot more
other
of
than
that.
Williams Grove, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, listen, we're going to have our own champion here pretty soon, I believe, in Chris Lynn. Narc Ignition.
Hey,
Let's
you
go.
won something. Braden didn't win
Absolutely.
anything,
No,
right?
let's go. That's what I'm saying. Let's go.
Braden didn't win that either, huh?
Jay-Z, are you allowed in that league or no?
I was told if I apologized by someone, and then someone also said that they would ask if I wanted to, and I kindly declined that I don't need to be back in that one. So, I mean, who named someone Bruce? Let's be honest. Like Jesus. Yeah, I talk about the old days too, Braden. It's okay.
Yeah, Braden.
So Tyler, what was
that
one of the
deal.
coolest? What was one of the coolest things when you were down in Volusia that you got to do? Obviously, the VIP stuff. Like just from being a fan down there, what was some of the cool stuff that you got to see?
Just cool stuff. As a fan at the Volusia or just in Daytona itself?
Sure. Yes.
All of it.
Let's see. We got to go to the beach. The beach in February. You can't be mad about that.
True.
We went to the Speedway, Daytona, and took a tour of that. So that was pretty cool. And then Volusia, just being able to walk around and just talk to people is a bunch of fun. And being in that VIP, you got to talk to a lot of people that are involved with the World of Outlaws, and that was a very cool experience. And yeah.
The Daytona is pretty massive, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the guy said from one end to the other end of the bleachers, it's like a mile long, or 9/10 of a mile.
It's insanity.
That's just the bleachers on the front. Well, there is no bleachers on the back stretch, but I
Like,
think he
think
said it's
about that.
15. I think the top is 15 stories tall.
So think about that. I mean, we're all race fans
Imagine
here,
that front stretch race there, Jimmy.
I wouldn't
Like,
make it
just
100
think
feet.
about it. If you've all been to a college football game, been to an NFL game, you've been to some big arenas and outdoor, and then the front stretch grandstands are almost a mile long. Like,
And they're
think about that.
15 stories tall.
It's insanity. Like, I can't even like picture it. So was that the first time you saw Daytona?
Yeah.
So did you kind of like pull up there and like be like, whoa?
Yes. So the plane, I flew into Daytona, so the airport's on the backstretch. So that was honestly the first time that I got to see it from, I guess, afar, and then being on the tour and stuff. It like the bleachers are super long. Like, it's crazy. Like, just you're going like only like 10 or 15, but it feels like forever, like from one end to another.
Yeah,
For the bleachers.
that's badass. You got to go to the beach a little bit, get a suntan.
No suntan. It was cloudy.
Oh, that's not
You
great.
brought the rain
Well,
with you.
yeah, cloudy on Friday was nice. Saturday, no, not really. It was cloudy.
So we'll transition. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw in Volusia. A mixed bag, right? We got some rain, we got some double features, we kind of got some racing, we kind of didn't. Like, first of all, I'm just going to throw my opinion out there. It's not a fire off segment, but it's close. That many freaking modifieds.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to do something to split this event up. I'm fine with having another class, but this is absurdity. Like, I understand that they have a place there, but they should have their own event somehow and figure that out, because to just have sprint cars with these guys sit around for hours. And as a fan, I'm like, I don't, okay, great. Like, modifieds, they wreck on the front stretch like 3 and 4 at a time on the start. I'm struggling, and this is just my opinion. They need to find a way to break that up and do a different second division with not 3,000 cars.
Yes.
and try to figure this out, because even if there is a weather issue, they're never going to finish the night, because it's just not fair to and it's not fair to either division to cancel one or the other, because one should not take priority over another. Okay. But that needs to be a standalone event, in my opinion. I think it's just too many. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I commend them for trying something different, because usually it's
With the
all heat
features.
races, and they
Yeah.
just went straight to features. But still, like, that's the first time some of those guys are seeing the track, and you could tell because they're all over the place. You know what I mean? And it just, they're 20 lap features, 6 of them. That's I don't know. They got to figure something out. You want to give the mods a stage. I mean, like Kevin said, 95 mods. In past years, it's been 120, 130
Yeah,
of them, so they're lucky.
I think it was 105 that at least made one race.
So the final night was only 42, because it was from all those
Points.
nights, the points for the last 42 or whatever. That's what it should be every night. Like, maybe give certain drivers nights and then work up to that final one.
Were
If
they
you're
like
not running 100 cars each
Do it
night,
like an actual nationals type. You have prelim,
Yeah.
prelim, one big night.
do something like that. I think that would help better. But at the same time, you want to get laps on the track, but at the end of the day, for me, right before the feature got rained out on Saturday night, they had that track all the way up to the wall, like in the B main. Like, that was the widest the track's been all weekend. Why? Probably because the sprint cars were the only ones racing on it. You know what I mean? Or it's just the way the track worked out. But I agree. I think they need to do something different with the modifieds there. I'm kind of curious to see what happens tonight, because you have the World of Outlaws late models, which usually get, for Volusia, they might have like 50 cars or so, and then you have USAC, who they have a lot of full-time teams touring with them this year. So Probably not as bad as the car count there, but still, I mean, it's cool to see so many cars out in February, but it really makes for long nights.
What are your thoughts, Tyler? You were there.
Yeah. I think
I agree.
I think talking to Justin Allgaier, he was saying how tricky the track was, just how to grip. And I mean, he's a great driver. So to a driver that's less experienced, that they're just spinning on their own, makes sense. But I think they need to do. I think there's 6 nights for it. If you can try to split it up and you just have to race 2 nights,
Yeah,
and then
something like that.
build your points, not your 2-point, like you know what I mean, top 42 in points after your 2 nights would be good. But yeah, it's expensive too. I think it's $40 a night. I think for pits, and they're racing for $600.
$600.
600, yeah. It was.
Yeah, and listen, I'm thrilled with the participation. I'm glad they got car counts. Like that's great for Volusia. It's great for the sport. I love that they have the event for those guys. I just think it needs to be set up, structured differently. And I agree with all of you. Like I don't want to eliminate it. I don't want it to go away. I'm not necessarily a fan of those cars, but there's some big names that come down and race. That Gator and that dirt car deal, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great thing for the sport, for Volusia, for the state, for all of that. The pit gate money, great. But do they have to run some of this prelim stuff during the day? So at night you have some other things, and you eliminate each night down to less cars. That you have 1A main each night. With the sprint car program, I don't know what it needs to be that works with the track, that both works with also the cars, and they're all down there for the damn week anyway. Like spread it out and let them race. And then when you have the World of Outlaws and you have the All Stars, you have a touring series, you're going to get a lot of eyes nationally on it. They want to see the cars race.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there were more eyes on the modified deal from around the country or the sprint cars?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe we need to know the numbers, but my guess would be all the sprint cars.
The only race people watched was Thursday when Pastrana won. That was pretty cool. The place went crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of the names that they have in the modifieds definitely brought more eyes.
Yeah,
for sure. And this is the weekend at Will. There were guys that I heard somebody said it during, I don't know, one of the broadcasts or something, that it's the only time all year they'll watch a modified race. Like,
yeah,
yep.
Think about that. Like, that's a great event. I love the event. You just got to figure out how to do it better, in my opinion.
Yeah, or like just cap it off or something. I know what they're trying to do with the 6 features at 20 laps a piece, and that's it. But I mean, each or have a time limit or something. Each feature's taking forever. I mean, they're spinning out every other lap. It was, yeah. That's when we get up and go grab something to eat. That was what we did. But I think,
Go ahead.
I think on Saturday they should have moved the time up.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't.
I would say
gonna ask
3.
Why didn't they?
I think because they ran until 2 in the morning that night before. That's my only thing, because the mods didn't start until like 1:45, like their feature.
Wait, because we knew rain was coming Saturday.
That's why they flipped the event around completely. Think about it. They flipped an event from one day to the next, or one day to the previous day, 2 days ahead of time in preparation for it, knowing it was coming. So it's not like, oh, it snuck up on us or we didn't know, or they tried to move the show along. But I agree with Tyler on, like, one of the teams said that they didn't go to bed till 5 a.m. They got the car done, maintenance, team cleaned up, everything, and it was 5 a.m. and they went to bed. Well, think about if they start that day earlier. They're back at the track by 11.
But you think they're not racing. The Outlaws teams aren't racing for another 3.5 weeks. So, I mean, could they withstand one night? Because nothing was racing the next day.
That's a great point. I love that point. I don't disagree. I'm agreeing with you guys in general, but
they started at 5, right?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they should.
Even if you push it to 4, 3:30, I don't know how much. Right, I don't know how much that changes the prep work. I don't work on race cars. I'm sure someone out there knows that answer, but the Outlaws have been so good about that in previous years, about moving shows up for coldness or running a day show after they. If you let the teams know ahead of time, I think it's an option.
Hey, they made sure on Saturday night that they got all the way to the feature, so they can make sure they can give you a raid check. So they,
and
the teams get paid.
They also are racing down there again in that. So, but the teams that are only coming for speed weeks, they're just gonna get their tow money and be done. But like for the outlaw teams, it really didn't matter because they're gonna get to race that race again.
Right. I wonder if that weighed into some of the decision making. We'll be back
yeah,
in a couple weeks
yeah, that's probably what 100%
or a
what it
month.
is.
Well, the mods lost their entire night.
Yeah.
They
Well,
got pushed to the curb.
Yeah, I don't know how if they got their big like 5,000 to win race on Friday. I don't know how that went. I don't know.
I think
They
that's the point of doing it is they did it Friday. That way
Yeah,
Saturday
Friday.
so it was only
happen.
1,000. Yeah, it was like
Right. Saturday got
$1,000.
washed out. It got washed out. Nobody's going to come back to the race for $700.
Well,
or whatever.
Yeah,
No.
you'd be surprised.
there's 100 of them there to race for $700.
Well, but they knew they were going to get multiple days. I mean, I can't imagine some of these guys went back to Illinois and they would turn around, drive back to Florida for $600.
If someone has your mod down there, I'll drive down there for $700.
They already are.
If they're, I don't know. I don't.
No, I agree.
No, I'm with you there.
Like if you already had your hotel set up and you were planning on that stay, once that stay's over, to do it all over again and drive halfway across the country for next to nothing, I don't know. Maybe an outlaw team that makes sense, but I don't know about the mod.
Because I mean, I feel like these mod guys to some degree are using this almost like a vacation. Like Tyler said,
a lot of people
down there. You go down there, it's warm. Like, hey, yes, you want to run well, but you get to shake things out. Like I doubt Brent Marks or hopefully not Macri, but like Danny and them. I don't know. They unloaded their very best down there every day. Like they were trying out some setup stuff and seeing what works. I think within reason. Obviously, they're giving their effort to make the show and be fast. But I mean, I'd go experiment if you're not planning on running an outlaw tour, and go experiment and maybe not. I mean, have some fun with it, not so much seriousness.
Yeah, the biggest
especially
thing with
since
that
our season starts in a month.
The biggest thing with that place is the air, and they're below sea level, so the air is so good that it's not even on fuel sheets, and that's why you see people blowing up so much, because if you miss the pill a little bit.
Yeah, what do you think the 71's engine bill was for the weekend?
Oh my god.
Not fun.
See, on Friday he didn't break it. He broke a gear and his throttle pedal thing.
Did it spin the motor?
No, I don't think. I know it broke. I mean, yeah, I don't think it. I'm
just saying. Sometimes you break you break a gear, you can spin the motor if you don't.
Oh yeah, maybe that one.
If you don't get out of it fast enough, it may not have been a motor as the actual what we all thought the issue, but it still could have hurt the thing. And then did they break an actual motor the second night?
No, the one that was in the B main, that was the gear, and then the heat race was the throttle.
Oh, so maybe not. Okay. Well, I hope so.
Yeah, that was the same night. I don't know if that was.
Was it
Friday?
the same night?
But the night before he
first night.
Yeah,
first night they had a problem and they took the night off to fix it all.
Yeah, that was Monday, and then Tuesday they took off, or Tuesday they raced. Wednesday they took off. Thursday was when they couldn't finish a race. I think that might have been what it was. But yeah.
So what did you guys? Okay, yeah, Kevin wadded one up too.
Yeah.
So luckily we saw some wrecks, we saw some crazy, some stuff, but it wasn't. Volusia, we've seen some pretty bad ones over the years, and I didn't see there wasn't anything too crazy.
I think there was one flip. I don't think when I was down there, I don't think there was other than when Macri wrecked in the
Macri rolled in hot laps.
Yeah,
Macri rolled hot lap during practice night.
Oh yeah. During the Outlaw show, I think there was no flips.
Right.
Yeah, no. It was only the Macri turn 3 incident.
And
thankfully,
71, I think, yeah.
71. Yeah. So pretty good deal as far as that goes. I think that's a wild track. I mean, you got to have everything right, and I think like gravel is a hell of a start for them. Look at the point standings. I know that doesn't matter a whole lot right now, but that's a great start for gravel who's had these kind of starts before, but then also has had that time where he kind of gets going late. So, if he has that speed, usually he's a good qualifier, but I think they've had really good race speed this year. If he gets the qualifying stuff figured out on top of having good race pace, he's going to be a competitor for the championship for sure. It's a super long season, as we all know, and Volusia doesn't tell you the story of the season, but some players this year. I mean, what do you guys think?
For me, I think High Limit is really going to change some things because it might take a little bit of focus off that World of Outlaw championship for someone like Brad Sweet, to be honest. And this might be the year that gravel could finally break through. He looks really good. He looked so good at the end of last year. He had a little tough stretch last year, or he probably would have been champion last year as well. I think I know it's just Volusia, but also going off of his momentum from last year, I think Gravel's the guy to beat, even though Sweet's the 5-time.
Question. Maybe you just said something there and I'm confused. Is Brad Sweet planning on missing an outlaw race for a high limit show?
I mean, he's running the
think-
series.
He isn't running the whole series though.
He won't be able to.
No, he can run
Right,
2
I
races
think-
because the million counts for 2 races. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Yep. There's been a lot of back and forth with that because the rule, and I really don't want to get into it because the whole thing kind of pisses me off the way the Outlaws are doing it. But the rule is very vague because you can go run an outlaw track and it's okay. Like Brock last year, he was able to go run Port Royal. No, I mean, I know it was in a different car, but like there's different ways around it sometimes. But now they have this 48-hour, 100-mile rule. You have the X amount of races. Well, like you said, like the Adora Million, does that count against you? Like, because it's unsanctioned, and that's kind of, but it's at Eldora, like, which is a track the
But it's
Outlaws
not
race on.
within it's
But it's
within
that.
48 hours.
So, like, what the hell's the rule? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, and furthermore, why even have the rule? Let them race.
They're outlaws.
Let them race.
Right?
You know, I think the Outlaws did a great job with the schedule this year. They're going to less tracks, a little less traveling, a couple less races. That'll give the opportunities for these guys who want to go race some other things. Why make a rule against it? These guys are still going to go. You have one of the biggest outlaw fields full time right now. You have 15 drivers. I don't think they've had 15, 16 drivers in a couple of years. It's usually like 12, you know, but they have a lot of full time drivers to at least start the season. I don't know. I just and the other shitty part about it is that a lot of people are saying High Limit's going to challenge the World of Outlaws when really I think it's killing the All Star series. All Stars have their own problems too, and I love the All Star Circuit of Champions, but I think that's what's hurting most.
I think the All Stars not going to PA this year lost them some cars.
Probably.
I think
trying
that
to go out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that lost. I think Reinhardt would have raced. He's just back at home, probably knows tracks more or less travel, but yeah, I agree.
So speaking of PA and racing, Tyler, you've been involved with a little bit of helping with a team in the last couple years, or kind of sporadic. Kind of, what's your history with helping out some real life teams?
Yeah, just help on a 305 team that runs pass here locally, and yeah, it's been a blast getting to learn the car and stuff and know how to work on them.
Are you going to be back this year with them?
Yep.
Awesome. So hopefully they are out all season because last year didn't last very long.
No, lasted 5 laps.
Yeah. So the team that Tyler helps out on, you know, pretty local kid to me actually, as far as what he says his hometown is, and they got to Lincoln early in the year and went 5 laps, blew up, and didn't see the track rest this season. So hopefully they're rebuilt, ready to go. They were actually at the dirt racing show here in New York, the racing extravaganza. They had the car out. Rowdy Hefner, right? Driver?
Yep.
Yep, number 1. It's white with it's a white car basically with like a neon orange
And blue.
decal and number 1. So and blue. So looking forward to seeing you there. I know kind of that's one of the first times I met you was sort of I knew you from iRacing and met you in Port Royal pits or
Yeah, the
somewhere.
first night you started, first night you got your camera. Is that same year?
shiny camera.
Oh, that's right. Where Chris's girlfriend like helped me like point at a car and be like, "Here, look what you do, dummy." Literally, that's the story. So, good luck to them. What's their schedule look like? Do you know?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Just
So
probably just run pass, but yeah.
Just kind of stick around.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can run past, but you can run
Yeah.
10 races. You could run 30 races. I mean, there's a lot of events for sure. So for anybody listening, PASS is a PA Sprint Series. It's the local 305 division here in central Pennsylvania. Sort of centered around Port Royal, Baps, Lincoln, Path Valley, Sealands Grove is definitely a big one. Williams Grove. So the Lower Highlands is a little bit west, like Bedford and a couple other tracks out in the western side of PA.
There's one like for Bridgeport, and then there's one for like Hagerstown South.
It's sort of regional.
Yeah, you pretty much can run anywhere because they run the IMCA rules. Like if you got to like Fremont and Attica, they run open 305s, or out to Knoxville, they're all open. But pretty much you can go anywhere in the country with the IMCA 305.
IMCA. Because I know like Eagle is a big 305. I
Yeah,
think Eagle
that's
out
where
in Nebraska.
that's like the headquarters, I think. That's where they have the banquet and they have the IMCA Nationals where it's like 10 grand to win or something.
Good stuff, man. So, what's the first race on their schedule for you? Do you know yet?
Not yet. Still getting parts for a motor.
Okay, so what's Tyler Schell's race season look like then? If you're not going to be, if there's weekends where you don't have a car to help on, or mud scraper, as Alex says, what does your race season look like this year in person? You said you're 20 hours a week, you're going full time school. Where's your season look like?
Probably the Outlaw races in March here, and probably try to get to Icebreaker, see if we can do. But the Outlaw races in March, I think there's what 4 of them, and then stick to the bigger races, and because I'll probably be busy, so stick to the Outlaws All Stars, and then see if I can go to any other races if I'm free.
Have you had the opportunity to get behind the wheel of a race car yet?
I have not, but hopefully winning this propels me to be in one. I would love to be in one, just haven't got the opportunity.
Yeah, and I know that some of those windows can open. Your kind of name gets out there a little bit. Hey, let's yeah, Braden, you are an unpaid mud scraper. That's correct. Tyler Schell has won something. Remember? So he's
He
been
mud
paid.
scrapes on my car.
Shay says Tyler can't fit in one. How tall are you, Tyler?
6'4".
Yeah.
Yep, 6'4". Tyler's a big guy. Got to meet Tyler here a lot the last couple of years. Get to know him. So, what questions you guys have, Jimmy, Chris? Anything else for Tyler?
Other than David Gravel, just kind of going back to Volusia here real quick. Other than David Gravel, who was somebody that caught your eye when you were down there?
Definitely, I
you-
would say Macri with the new crew chief. That's probably big, just for amount of traveling he's doing, because he's still gonna be technically posse, but I think he has 100-something race on his schedule. So having speed right out the gate with the new crew chief and stuff,
Yeah.
definitely shows, and I think he'll be something. I think Volusia is a good sign for maybe Knoxville and like the bigger tracks, Knoxville, Eldora. So hopefully they can gel well, and we'll see him. Maybe he'll have a Brent type season this year.
Ooh, that's lofty
Big.
expectations there.
It's big.
I will say, and we'll go to commenter here, Chris Gray from before. Daddy Dietrich found something, hightailed it back home. Macri's spending money early, both having huge schedules. I will say, Danny looked really good. I mean, he's usually hit or miss down at Florida, but he looked really, really good. I think they're really set up coming out of the gates here hot. And it's going to be a team to watch out for this year.
Yeah. I think PA is going to do another type season like they had last year, and defend their turf pretty good. I think we got locals that are stepping up and getting a lot better. I think Dylan Norris will have a breakout year. He's had how many wins last year? 4 or 5?
Couple. Yeah, he had a couple.
And I'm interested to see what Dietz does in his own car.
Yeah, that's going to be a cool deal. Chris, who caught your eye?
I actually didn't watch very much down there because I was busy. But I think we talked about it last week. Gravel coming out the way it did. I think that's your championship battle is going to be Sweet Gravel. I think it's going to be that battle for the next 5 to 10 years. But see what Gravel's learned from falling short the last couple of years. I think the Shark cars look good at spurts, but I think Gravel and Sweet are going to be your guys to kind of go at it all year.
Exactly.
Macedo as a dark horse, I think.
Macedo did look good.
I think the biggest thing that gets Sweet these championships is he doesn't have a bad month. Like Gravel had a bad month where he was having a couple DNFs, and that killed him. Like same with Macedo. He was light at the Grove when he ran second, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's just stuff like them DNFs really killed Gravel last year.
Yeah. Eiler says shots this year. Don looked he looked
Fast.
pretty good. He looked sporty. He was probably going to launch himself at Macri. It sounded like, which was pretty fun. You know, just it would be cool to see him contend for another title. I just question, you know, can he do it all season long? You know, I think because he hasn't really shown that consistency the past 2 years. He shows he can win. He has the speed, but it's not like years ago where he's just up there every night. So let's see.
Tyler Schell, last question. I promise. You get the same treatment all the drivers get to come in here, the real life drivers.
Oh yeah, I love this.
Okay. I need 2 names.
Oh, this is gonna get good.
See, now before you ask this, I hope Ashley paid attention last week and this week because this is coming to you next.
Yes.
Ashley, be prepared. You're going to get this one too. 2 drivers, Tyler Schell. 1 driver you love racing around on iRacing, and 1 driver you just hate racing around. And at this point, listen, we're just keyboard, like we're
Keyboard
sim
warriors.
cartoon racers. You're not going to get punched in the face, probably, maybe.
But he can't reach
Unless it's a posse member and we see you at the track, so watch your mouth. No, but 1 driver you love racing around on iRacing, you have a blast with, and somebody that is just a thorn in your side.
Probably say, I'd say probably Braden to race around. We usually race pretty hard and don't crash a lot. That's the biggest thing. You can race hard with people and not crash. That's the best. That's the most enjoyable part. And then probably Bergeron. Don't like him.
Fair enough.
Flat out.
Not an uncommon answer, I think, on iRacing. He doesn't race in really any of the leagues that I'm in anymore, so I don't really have to deal with him lapping us or passing us from 40th, like you did to Williams Grove last week. But or no, that wasn't Williams
Yeah,
Grove.
it was
Uh,
last week. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the flat out.
Flat
That's
out,
right.
flat out.
Missed the damn start. Started at the back and just like I'm running the bottom, and I know you like the bottom, and I'm running the bottom, and Tyler goes around the top. As soon as he passes all, goes to the bottom. Son of a bitch, man! Like, honestly, you moved to the bottom. We kept up with you better when you moved down than when you were running the top because you drove by all of us on the top. You
Yeah.
got to the lead, kind of went to the bottom. We were kind of like. As fast as you were getting to the front, when you went to the bottom, we were all kind of just hanging there. I think if you stay up top, you probably win by 10 seconds.
Yeah.
We should just talk about Volusia and what he did there last week. Wasn't that Volusia where you caught the inside wall and killed the whole field?
On the second lap.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was pucker factor for me. I missed it.
Yeah, sorry, Andy man, if you're watching.
Oh, I don't know if he is or not, but I mean, it
I
kept
need a
me
new
up near the front. So thanks. I'd be a world champ because he wrecked. Let's go.
Who do you think's gonna
That's
win the
true,
All-Star race
Braden.
tonight?
I say they're about to go green here in the All-Star race.
For the feature already?
Yeah.
Like Bowman on the pole.
Bowman on the pole? I haven't watched any of it. I
just saw the
Courtney in
highlight.
the front row.
Schoenberg and Tim Schafer is in a Jason Sides car.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
It's
interesting.
a 7TK. So is that the whole Tim Kading, Jason Sides partnership going on there?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you said 15 outlaw drivers. Is it 14 since Craig Kinzer's at the All-Star?
No,
Kinzer
because it
can
was
race,
15
he can
before
race.
Kinzer.
It was before
It's-
that. Which
it's-
so here's the okay. I want to get this opinion. Like, I don't understand the Craig Kinzer deal because, like, the quote from him over the weekend was, "I was not going to sign up, and I realized I'd missed not being on tour, so here I am."
He signed up for the professionals.
He signed up to get the tow money.
Yeah, tow money, provisionals,
And then
and
it
then
promptly went to East
when he
Bay.
goes over the limit, he'll just get dropped and run his own.
Interesting.
Because he probably can't run the entire season anyway.
The old Tim Schafer move: sign up for a series and then quit it when you go home.
Well, I mean, Danny Dietrich did that during COVID.
Yeah.
Signed up for the All Stars, get the pit passes,
and then came home, didn't do it.
Sorry, I got a family business I forgot about.
Oops.
Oops.
So how many full-time All-Stars have signed up?
Let's see. Courtney, PPM,
Schoenberg,
Thiel, which I don't see lasting.
Did Courtney declare for All Stars full time?
Yeah,
he did. Okay.
I think Peck does it.
Yeah. Where's he
really?
starting tonight?
Uh,
You think he ends up doing it?
Fifth.
He's
been good. He was really good.
They committed to 100 races this year, and that's not all.
They ran
All-Stars.
they ran 100 last year.
Yeah. So the
because
All-Stars don't have that rule. They can go anywhere, anytime,
Yes.
anywhere they want, right? The
They
All-Stars
have the
don't have that?
correct rule. They have the
the
correct
the
rule.
All-Stars are the
Yeah,
true
let 'em
outlaws.
race.
Let's be real.
I mean, kinda.
Can confirm the bridge is still there. Last time I drove
Yes.
past the racetrack last week.
Yeah, Chris Gray
What are we waiting for?
asking anyone know if Old Blue has left the backstretch yet at William
Yeah,
Grove.
Have you guys heard of any of that?
I saw a post on it, and there was just really no news. Like there was just silence.
Yeah, that was strange because like it was out of nowhere the last race of the year. They're like, oh, by the way, we're gonna remove the bridge.
Well, they never actually said it.
No, they
that I
never.
saw.
Yeah,
No,
the
Williams Grove never
security.
said a word. It was all
Williams
of us.
never said it, but it was just the word all
Security,
around.
Right.
Yeah.
From the time we got to the National Open on, it was the word going around, but I never saw
Yeah.
anyone official say
No,
a damn thing about it.
Well,
I
for a long-
wonder where they're gonna put a tunnel for the backstretch because
I
they're
don't
gonna
think they
have to
will.
put. They won't.
There's a bridge there. You don't have to worry about it.
Well, yeah.
There's
like,
plenty
my
of
whole
tracks
thing-
where you just walk across the track during because you can't
Yeah,
walk over the bridge anyway until everybody's off the track anyway.
Yeah, but
And then walking
they're
across
gonna be in
tracks
the
faster
pits.
than
They're
that
gonna be
damn
in the
bridge.
pits, but they're gonna be in the pits.
You
though.
can't move a guardrail. Figure that out.
Yeah,
Well, it is Williams Grove. What do you expect?
I mean,
Anything.
Not much.
when it gets jacked up at the bridge, they'll send you across the track then to get you across
Yeah.
faster,
Just to get
But-
more people across.
and they'll like
What-
walk you through the pits out
Yep.
through, and then if you try to break out of line, they'll just probably hit you or something. I don't know.
What's the last upgrade the Grove has done other than put new dirt on it?
They put lights in.
they
bro.
put that little
Wheeling
catch
lights.
fence. They put the little catch fence over the
Oh,
tunnel.
get into- oh, okay.
That
okay.
about 10-foot section of fence.
and they put the flashing Lego lights.
Oh, okay.
Like the one that boggles my mind the most about Williams Grove of all the things it could is that they have to water the asphalt pit roads because they won't clean the dirt off of them. All summer long, you see a water truck going through the pits, both the front stretch and out back, and those are paved. They won't clean the dirt off of them, so they have to water the pit roads that are asphalt because there's so much dirt on them they won't clean off. Can you believe? Think
It's
about
Williams
that.
Grove. It's Williams Grove. What do you expect?
not
You
trying.
have to go in two different lines to get a burger and chicken sandwich.
It's true. That is very true.
That's a true
And not to.
And
Not-
they're in the same thing. They're in like the same.
They're in the
I
same building.
I
right
literally
there.
wanted a
right
chicken
next to each other.
sandwich and a hot chocolate at the National Open. Had to go to two different
The one.
lines.
Yep. In the same
that-
building.
That weekend at National Open, we were talking about the bridge. Like even at the beginning when everybody was saying about the bridge leaving, I was like, I haven't heard that. Like you think the track would say something, but it was talked about so much and so many people in that place. Like everyone in there were just,
No,
yep, it's gone, it's gone,
That's
it's
what
gone.
the security guy at the bottom of the bridge said it.
Yeah, like it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. And everybody, like it wasn't just our crew taking pictures with the bridge at the end of the night. It was everyone.
Everybody. Yep.
And there's been nothing.
Yeah.
Well, good news. You can take more pictures.
I guess so. Last year's won't matter now, will they? Now I gotta
Yeah.
take bridge. This year will be the last year of bridge pictures. So now I got to take bridge pictures this year and watch
kinda
all the 30,000 photographers get the exact same shot during the 4 wide in the National Open coming under the bridge. They all stood on the other side of the bridge. I stood on like the before side and got them going under from behind. Every photographer, if you look at those pictures, there was 3,000 photographers standing on the same piece of grass on the other side.
Because you're built different.
I'm just, I can't follow the crowd when it comes to that, I guess. Anyway.
I heard you
You
had
gotta-
drama at Lincoln with being a photographer.
Nope, not me. Hey, the 70
I-
card just spun out already.
Who's in that? Is that
Scotty
Schaefer
Thiel.
or Scotty Thiel?
Mhm.
How long until he's out of that car?
March
June.
1st?
March 1st.
No, I'll give him the June.
I mean, history says it's not going to be long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's different, all right. Anyway, Tyler, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to take a break. We're going to get Ashley in here.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, man. Enjoy the racing, man. We'll see you on iRacing, I don't know, sometime.
Is there anybody you want to thank
Awesome.
before we let you go?
Oh, yeah.
Just like thank you guys for bringing me on. It was a blast, and look forward to watching the rest of it.
Great.
So he also wants to thank Elbows Up SimSport, Jessup Logistics, MoreThanTires.com. You know how to do this, Tyler? You need some help or what? Billy's
Here,
gonna kill you.
I can do this for you if you want. That might help.
All them. All those
All them.
people.
Let's see. Billy with Paints by Tuna Can. Overall photography. If you haven't saw them, he just posted his pictures from Daytona today. I don't know if you guys saw them or not.
I put them in our Discord, actually.
You did?
Our Posse Discord, I posted a link to it. They're badass.
Yeah, he was showing them off today, and then Rufco and Flow Racing.
What's
Awesome,
up with the Gumby? I like it. I just
I'm Gum. That's my
because
nickname.
you're
6'4"
it.
and 127.
I just got it
Gumpy.
now as I
Yeah.
asked it.
And then Richie's pokey.
So Richie Preston, teammate of Tyler Schell. They're like sort of twins looking, skinny.
tower.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing ever. They walk around and I'm a big guy and I'm like, oh, these kids, they're just built different. These guys. All right, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you. See you.
See you, Tyler. Awesome time with Tyler there. Braden says he's 6'3". I don't
believe that.
I don't
That's a
believe
lie.
that for a second.
I don't know. When I met Braden, maybe that was pre-puberty. He wasn't 6'3". I'm 6'3".
He's 6'3" when he stands at Lernerville.
So
on the hill.
Well, good time talking with Tyler, talking about Volusia and everything. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back with ASHLEY CAPPETTA. All right, and we are back. Thank you for Tyler Schell for joining us in the first hour there. That was a good time. We are going to bring on a real race car driver now. No disrespect to Tyler Schell.
Oh, that's messed up.
No disrespect, but someone who drives a real race car, 358 driver, ASHLEY CAPPETTA. ASHLEY,
Hi guys,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me tonight.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm actually kind of tired still from Saturday. It was a very long day, but it was definitely well worth being there with all the fans and everything for our event. But I'm still exhausted.
So tell us a little bit about that. How many years have you done this event? Kind of what goes on and uh, success of it.
So I started it. So when I first got into racing, my parents told me that I had to figure it out on my own. Even with the Cappetta last name, everybody was very quick to assume that there was money here, and that my Uncle Rob built my motors, and neither were true. So I kind of had to do my own deal. I did the antique business. This all ties hand in hand, so I'm not trying to go off the grid. So I started the antique and collectibles business first. Um, and I went to auctions. I bought stuff, took it to the flea market, which was up at Williams Grove. And then all that money I pretty much put into my race car. And then everybody's like, well, why don't you do an event? And I'm like, well, Nicky Young, when he used to race the 10N car, they used to do one at the same place that I have mine. And they're like, why don't you do a fundraiser? And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, I don't know how we're going to make this work, but I was like, let's just give it a shot. So the first year I had it at Midway Fire Company, which was a really small fire company, maybe could seat 150, maybe 200 people on a good day. So we had our first one there, and because my dad used to do like their Christmas parties and stuff. So, and I mean, it was very small. We did like the raffle baskets were not that great. We had like a really small auction. Didn't really make a whole lot of money, but it brought fans together and it helped, you know. So I was like, you know, and everybody's like, oh, why don't you do it again next year? So we did it like year after year, and then we just kept getting bigger and bigger because we always tried to make something different for the next event that would make people want to come back. So the 8th year, which would have been 2018, 2017, I think it was 2017, I started doing everybody got a free shirt. So then I was like, okay, well, let's do something else. And then we added, like this year, we ended up doing 4 giveaways total. It was a drawstring bag, a decal, a can koozie, and the shirt, which this was our first year doing colored shirts. So with the economy being so crappy, I was like, we have to make sure these fans feel like they belong here and they're not just coming just because we want their money or that they feel like we're using them per se. So the first thing that's important to me, and I wish tracks would kind of see this too, the more people feel loved and appreciated, the more they're going to want to support you. I don't care if they
What a
actually,
concept.
yeah, if they don't like you. I mean, there's people that I see that come to our events that I don't see at the track every weekend. But people know that when they come to our event, they're not going to leave hungry. And if they do, it's their own fault. We always provide beverages. We always have giveaways. We try to always make it a fun experience. I wish I actually got to experience it more, but I'm so busy the whole night that it's literally you walk in the door to set up, and then the next minute you're looking at your clock and it's time to go home. So each year it grows. So this one was our 11th one. And I definitely thought it was great. Looked like everybody had a great time. I didn't hear any complaints this year. Last year I heard a couple of people complaining about it. Nothing like that I would do per se, but something that they thought we could do better. And I take that very serious. So I always try to make it better. So this year we did 4 different like main foods. We weren't supposed to have shrimp, but I added that as an extra item just because I was like, these people are coming to help us out. And like, I would have done even more than what we already did, but you got to put a line somewhere. You're not going to make any money.
Right.
So the racing bash that we did with the new Outlaw game, I think that went really well. We had 20 racers sign up, which I don't think is bad for the first time. And we ended up, I actually I made $18 profit off of it. So I wasn't really worried about the profit part of it. I wanted people to come, have fun, and try something different. So now next year, since our payout was $500 for the regular race, and then it was $190 for the non-qualifiers that placed. Next year, I want to do $1,000, if not more than that, payout, and then try to do like a 200 to 300 non-qualifiers purse. So there's always room for improvement. And I always will try to do something to make it better, as long
That's
as we're
awesome.
racing still, obviously next year, God willing. But I would not even mind helping other drivers put one together. I know Wyatt was supposed to have one, and it kind of didn't work out. January is really tough. We used to have ours in January, but I learned after the holidays, like, people are broke and people just don't really want to do anything. So that's why we moved ours to the second week in February, because Extravaganza is the week before, then Motorama is the week after, and then after that's Lincoln Opener. So just kind of, you got to find the right time to do it, or it won't work out.
So, and this is all to support your race team. So let's go back there a little bit and kind of do what we've done with all of our guests. And I know a little bit about you. Got to meet you a little bit last year and talked to you in the pits a few times. Jimmy and Chris obviously know the car. They know your name. But there's gonna be some fans that know as much as myself, Jimmy, or Chris, or less. So
Mhm.
let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Talk about your family's history in racing. I know you talked about your uncle, I believe, Rob,
Yep.
who's a pretty big name in the sport and the industry, and a little bit about your family history and kind of where you got to get here today, or where you've been to get here
So
today.
my dad used to help. Well, he used to help my Uncle Rob first. So my uncle ran in the 70s. And then after my Uncle Rob quit racing, my dad kind of got into some trouble. Not like anything like bad, but just doing regular men, teenage, older stuff. Got involved with the wrong women. Let's just put it that way. So he wasn't in trouble. My uncle suggested, why don't you go help Steve Smith, because he's looking for somebody. So my dad actually wasn't Steve's biggest fan at one point, because he was a huge Kenny Weld fan. So he's like, I don't like that. Just like how people were with Fred Raymer when he was in the 88H car. I was one of those people. I couldn't stand the man, because anybody that beat Greg Hodnett, I didn't like. So that my dad was the same way. So then he started working for Steve Smith, and obviously absolutely loved and adored Steve, and he still does to this day. There's still days that he struggles with him being gone. Then my uncle actually went to NASCAR. He was the gas man for Robert Yates Racing, Dale Jarrett. So that was a really cool deal. I wish I would have been able to actually go and watch that happen, but I was like 5 or 6 years old when that was going on. And then he didn't really get to see my little cousins. Well, little at the time. They're older now, around my age. He didn't get to see the kids much, so he came back home. And then he started to build sprint car motors. He built for Brian Lepo, Eric Stanball, Greg Hodnett. He built for John Trone for a little while. Jason Solwald and Jack Hodenshield in the R19 car. And now KKR, which he's been doing that for, I think, 5 years maybe. I know they have 4 championships together, but so
It's a hell of a resume.
So that's yeah. Which honestly, the first year that Brad got the championship, I was absolutely sick to my stomach, because I wanted that championship more than anything for my uncle and Brad. But physically being there and watching that all unfold, because that was the year that Danny Dietrich broke right in front of Brad on the backstretch at Charlotte. And of course I panicked. I was like, I thought it was over at that point. So that's like my uncle and my dad. So then when my uncle built the motors for Greg Hodnett, that's when I started to get attached to racing. Like, I absolutely idolized Greg. Just, he was always so driven. He was always determined. Like, when he was at the track, you could say hi to him, but he was so tunnel visioned on what he had to do. And I admired that, because he recognized that you were there, but he also was so focused on what he needed to do. And that's what really drove me to really like racing. Obviously, I watched Stevie race because my dad helped Steve, but I don't really remember that a whole lot because I was really young. So then my uncle started to build Lepo's motors when Hodnett went to the 77 car, and my heart was broken because he wasn't in the Apple anymore. because that was my favorite car. So then I started scraping mud and stuff, helping Lepo with just like the simple mud scraping task. And then I saw AJ Michael was asking for help. So I went and helped AJ Michael for a couple of years, and his crew chief was Jim Schreiner, who is now Dylan Cisney's crew chief. And he taught me how to change the gears and change shocks and a little bit more than just your average mud scraper kind of thing. And then AJ hung it up shortly after he got his concussion at Lincoln. And he has a business and stuff, so he kind of wanted to focus on the family business more. So then I helped Kyle Pruitt briefly, and that's how I met Dylan Norris's dad, Sean. And I knew Sean knew everything you could think of about a race car. So I asked him one day, I said, Sean, I said, I really want to learn about sprint cars. And he said, okay. So I went to the shop. He was working for Brian Bruckner at the time in the 358s. And he said, I go to the shop on Sundays, I'll take you up there. And he showed me how he does maintenance. I mean, that guy has probably the best maintenance program that I've seen in my face, actually. And we do the same maintenance program now here because I've watched and have done it with Sean so often that it just became secondhand nature for me. And then Chris Esch took over driving duties when Brian Bruckner broke his neck at Trailways. And then I said to Sean one day, I said, hey, it's like, I'd like to build a 358. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I need to come up with something for a senior project. And I was like, I think it'd be kind of cool to build a sprint car. I honestly didn't think I'd be able to race the thing. I thought I was going to get it to a frame, a body, pretty much a whole roller. I didn't think we'd get a motor or anything. And my parents were like, you're not racing that damn thing. And I'm like, okay. So a motor ended up coming. And then I started to race at Trailways. And I'll never forget it. I never had any racing experience except for, I always joke and I say mowing the grass at Grandma's. That was about as far as it went. And Speedway 94 is about as far as it went. And we went to Trailways for a practice session. And now I've always had the enclosure panel pretty much my whole career. And I was in the car and I was getting ready to go out there. And I had the Hooker harness seatbelts pretty much my whole career as well, which had the ratcheting device. And he's like, are you ready? And I'm like, nope, I'm getting out of here. He's like, oh no. He's like, you're staying in there. It was more that I felt so claustrophobic because like when you get in your personal vehicle, you can kind of like move around and stuff. Not in that thing. And I went out there and I putzed around. Like I was like, oh, this kind of feels fast. Not really. And then there were some people that like, oh, I expected her to be a lot better and like had all these expectations for me. And I'm like, I never raced anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be the type to go out there. You know how some of these people are. They'll go out there and stand on the gas and then they're the next one hanging it in the fence. I was like, I worked hard for this. I ain't going to do that.
Right.
So I got I got more mad than I did upset. And I went up to BAPS. Well, it was Susquehanna at the time. And they put me out there with the 410s. And I'm like, they have lost their mind. I was literally 3 wide. It was Donnie Kreitz Jr. and Kevin Nouse. And I was in the middle. And I was like, you got to just hold your line and just stay in the gas. And I followed those guys pretty much the whole night. And then the next time I went up, Chad Trout was there. I think he had a 360 in maybe that night. And I followed him around. And then I went back to Trailways. And then Jim Travis was my engine builder at the time. And he's like, the only way you're going to truly get better is if you go to Trailways and just tag the rear. And now, as small as Trailways is, lap traffic happens really fast. Yeah. So I always had in my mind, the moment I got lapped is when I pulled off the field. And the reason I did that is, for one, my own safety and the safety of everybody else. Because I was nowhere near where those guys were. And I feel like the respect, like when Jeff Rurball told me he thought I was ready to start on the front row, and Brad McClellan, that's when I took the chance. Because I wanted that respect. I didn't want to be one of those ones in the way. I didn't want to get drove over. So that was kind of where I was at with that. And then I started not to like trailways as much because a lot of cars like to drive in the infield and then they would shoot back out, and that always scared the dickens out of me. So I was like, let's go to and I fell in love with Lincoln. I like Williams Grove, but Fridays for me are really tough with the antique business because there's a lot of Friday night auctions, and I know I can't make Saturday night auctions because I have to kind of pick and choose. If I want to race Saturday, I got to go to auction Friday. If I want to race Friday, then I'd have to give up. So it's kind of, you got to, all these auctions, like you have a website, it's called Auction Zip, and they have a full calendar, kind of like a schedule. And you go on and you can look at what auctions are within your, like, say I put 30 miles. I can look at all the auctions in my area for the whole week. And I can just click on there and they post their pictures and everything. So if it looks like a good auction, I'm going to go. If it looks like junk, I'm not going to waste my time. But junk doesn't make me money. So I kind of got to pick my poison when it comes to that.
So with kind of talked about, kind of fell in love with Lincoln a little bit. So that would be an easy choice. You're saying, hey, which night am I going to sacrifice? If you had if it was all equal, and I would have done the same thing, right? Pick the track you want to race at because you still want to race, and kind of do that. And so I see you over, like, how long have you been kind of, I don't want to say full time, but since Trailway, you kind of were like, okay, I'm done with Trailway. Have you kind of, as soon as you transitioned to Lincoln, that's kind of just been, that's been the plan all along ever since that switch happened, that you're just, auction Friday night, Lincoln Saturday night, and that's kind of been the plan since? How long has that been?
I would say we went full time like in 2017 when Smokers Outlet came on board. The only other factor that we have, like, so like Lincoln's 15 minutes from us. So it's kind of easy, but like my dad's a professional DJ too, which a lot of people do know that, and then a lot of people don't know that. He's played over 1,000 and some weddings since '82. So, I mean, he works at Harley Davidson full time, but he also does DJing as a side job as well. So there's Friday nights where he plays at my one sponsor's place, the Republican Club. So like the Friday nights that he has booked, it's like I'm not going to go without him to the track because he also works on my car. So Lincoln just kind of worked easier for us because my dad used to do a lot of Saturday weddings and stuff like that. So then he had to switch his schedule to not do Saturday weddings and play somewhere else Friday night to make up for the money lost for the weddings. So we kind of just made it work because a lot of my one crew guy, he was working Fridays and it was late Fridays that he would get to the track. So it just became to be, it just worked out for everybody to do Lincoln. But I obviously want to support Williams Grove too because, they're the only ones that have upped our purse. Lincoln hasn't touched our purse in I don't know how long.
Yeah, and I know that's becoming more and more of a topic. And Williams Grove, they have some work to do for sure. But I think that you're the second driver now that said I want to support Williams Grove, or I'm going to solely do Williams Grove because of the purse, right? Chase Dietz talked about that a couple weeks ago, that he wants to focus on Williams Grove because of the purse money, making the shows is going to help the way he has to run his program this year and kind of building that up. So that's pretty interesting to hear multiple people talk about that. Now, again, is that money increase worth switching schedules? And that's for your family, your program, to make that all work and make that make sense. And then there's just the other challenges of Williams Grove and getting the laps and the seat time, and and kind of you want to be competitive when you go, not just for the couple bucks, but you want to also be competitive. So I can understand that completely. So let's talk about 2022 a little bit, because you're not going to be the first 358 driver to come on here and kind of not be thrilled with their 2022 season. And that's okay, because this happens in racing. But I feel like a lot of our 2022 358 guests struggled this past year with consistency. And not that you didn't have speed. We talked to Justin Foster, talked to Jaden
he
Wolf.
had a really bad year too. I felt bad for him.
And there's nights that I, go out there and see all those, the Jaden Wolf and Justin Foster and a couple of those guys, they have speed, but just couldn't put their nights together for of various reasons, right? A multitude of reasons. So talk a little bit about your season, kind of where it went. And I followed it enough to kind of know a little bit between, I mean, you tell your story and your view of it. And I like kind of see if it matches up in my head about what I thought.
Well, we started the year off rough even before racing season started. So my dad broke his ankle the night of my fundraiser last year. So
Too many
that was
Pepsis.
what's that?
Too many Pepsis at the party. Come
It
on,
was
Dad.
even before the party started. That's the
Oh
worst part.
man.
Oh, kegs and eggs. Okay, got it.
So I'm getting literally set up for the event, and my mom calls. It's like, your dad broke his leg. I was like, what do you mean he broke his? Like, she's a little dramatic sometimes, so I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. So she's like, no, now he's blacking out on me. So of course I'm panicking now at this point because I'm like, he broke his leg and he's blacking out. Now my dad doesn't have a high pain tolerance for the most part, so I was like, okay, so maybe he's being dramatic. So then, like, she's FaceTiming me, and I was gonna hop in my truck and fly home, but I was like, I have the race car trailer with me, so that's not gonna happen. So she's FaceTiming me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call 911 because I was like, even though I wasn't there, it was like I had the most common sense of what was going on. So I called 911, wasn't even there. My friend was the EMT and ended up showing up at the house, and she's FaceTiming me, and she's like, yeah, his ankle, he broke his ankle. I said, Mom, how'd you go from his leg to his ankle? So she's like, I'm telling you, that thing was like this. His shoe was like fully like puffed out. The laces were sticking everywhere. It was a hot mess. He didn't want to go to the hospital and sit there. Well, on top of that, my aunt was in the hospital with COVID, and she was not doing well at all. So we thought she might have pulled through, but she passed away 3 days later after that. So then on top of that, we had complications with my dad after his surgery. He ended up almost passing out on me at home because they had his bandage so tight that he was getting no circulation in his foot whatsoever. So I called the paramedics. They were at my house. We had to go bury his sister the next day, so it was like a hot mess. So we got through that. Then Lincoln's practice came up. We built a complete car. It had a seat and a motor for Lincoln's practice. We started at 10 a.m. and pulled in Lincoln's gates at 7. And I ran practice laps. I was like, okay, cool. Like everything's, maybe it was just a fluke. I was like, maybe it was just the month of February. Then my uncle got really sick, not Rob, my uncle Jim, and he about died on us. It was really, really bad. So I took that very, very hard because he's like a father figure, and he was at most of my races pretty much for my 10 years of racing. So it was hard. And then them pill draw bags, I'm telling you what, I told Brian Householder I was ready to blow up the shed and get rid of them pills because I don't care who drew for me. It was terrible. We had 4 races where we started up front, and people were like, well, complaining about the pill draw is not going to do anything. I said, you're right. Complaining is not going to do anything. However, it's tough to start in the back, especially if you're in heat 1. The track's not wide. You can't pass. I'm not the type that really likes to go way up high. So it's like, well, you know, I did try to go high a couple times at the end of the year in the heat races, and I just didn't go anywhere. So at this point, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to do this anymore. I was like, because I hated going to the track every week, just because our pill draws were awful, and I wasn't having fun. It was the same tune every single week. And then the tire deal, like that ticked me off because we had to get them stupid poker chips, and we were fighting for tires every week, and it was becoming very stressful, and I just didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. So then I got COVID in August. Not that having COVID was a good thing, but for my mental state, it probably was a good thing because it gave me a month and a half off of racing. Because I went to Disney on my 10th day because I already had the trip paid for. So on my 10th day, I went and I was gone for a week. I came home, had complications, probably because it was so freaking hot in Florida. I probably didn't drink enough fluids. So like I came home, I tried to move some furniture around, and like that quick, you would have thought that I had it all over again. I had no energy whatsoever. Didn't even want to do my antique business. Didn't want to race. I didn't want to do anything. So I kind of had to like build my strength back up. And luckily, the first night out after I had COVID, I finished second to a friend of mine, which I always pick on him to this day. I'm like, man, you just couldn't let me have that one moment. But he, he worked for it. He deserved it. And he told me if the top would have never came in, that I would have been long gone and it would have been a different story. But that kind of turned the tune a little bit. And the end of the last race of the year wasn't that great. But I also realized too, what made me really feel okay about the 2022 season is when I talked to Brad at the first National Open, not the second one that we had at the end of the year. He had actually a couple races last year that he was questioning himself with things too. And when there's guys that are on a professional level like that and they think the same, it kind of makes you feel like, okay, so there is people out there that do this for a living and they struggle. I watched Donnie Schatz have one of the worst seasons he's had in a long time, but he was going through a lot with his dad, being sick, and then he passed away. And then like the Ford Motor thing, I think they were working with stuff on that. So it's like, you got to consider that not every year is going to be great. Before Greg Hodnett passed away, he had 24 races won that year or something. The following year, he couldn't win in a 410, but won in the 360. So watching guys that are absolutely great race car drivers not have a good year, I had to keep that in my mind that you're not always going to do well. The only thing that sucks is same way with time trials. I mean, if you go out first, sometimes you're going to have a good lap. If you go out last, sometimes you're going to have a better lap. So there's so many scenarios for everybody that sometimes luck is like 70% of your night. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
kind of how I view it.
yeah, I agree completely. And we've talked a lot about the pill draw stuff and time trial stuff. And listen, it can definitely be, it can be a problem, and it is that division, not only like you said, the first heat, but then just the competition in general in that division.
Yep.
And you're 100% right with racing, right? It's also you don't do it for a living. When you talk about Brad and Donnie and they're doing it for a living and they have struggles, why the hell would you want to go every week when this is a hobby, it's for fun, and you're not having fun? Well, that's our competitive nature, right? That's our competitive nature to want to go out there and win and succeed in everything we do. And it doesn't just that's not just racing, that's anything. But
Yes.
you have to also have those expectations and say, listen, I know I can't get in this car and I'm going to win every night. I know I'm going to get in this car and we're going to wreck a car. We're going to have a shitty pill draw. We're going to do this, but it's like, I'm doing this because I love it, right?
Right.
It's not paying your bills. It's not making you a living. In fact,
No,
it probably stands in the
definitely
way
not
of
paying
all
the
those
bills.
things, right? It stands in the way of all those things. So at some point it's like, yeah, this isn't fun, but man, it's cool to be in a freaking race car. Not a lot of people get to do this, right? So
Absolutely.
like from this guy's standpoint, I'm with you. The competitive drive is there no matter what I do and anything I do. I want to win an argument. I want to win anything. But that's hard while you're in it to take that perspective of saying this was still awesome. There's not many people on the planet get to do this. I know that's got to be hard to do in the moment, right? Because you put so much into it. You put so much work and time and energy and effort into it that you want to get out of it everything that you want to work that you worked for. You want to get everything back out of that, and it doesn't always go that way. And I can understand that mental drain a little bit. And like you said, getting COVID isn't like great, but that time away mentally, even though COVID's kind of a mind, like probably was a nice little break from it all. And then to come back and finish second is like, okay, cool. I can still do this, or hey, like that's what we do this for. That was a good whatever. So, and I think it's always good to evaluate week to week. We've talked to some drivers that go, okay, after the race is over Saturday, we pack it up, go home, have to do all the crap, clean it, maintenance it, put it back together, and it's done. Then there's other guys that go, man, I go back to the track, and I was thinking about last week. It's very wild to hear the stories of how people handle good, bad, adversity, triumph, and they all handle it in their own way.
Absolutely.
And I think that is really a balance to this racing deal. It's just as much mental as it is physical. And everybody gets behind the wheel of these cars has the ability to win a race for the most part that I've talked to. I mean, there's maybe, there's select few that get into behind the wheel of a race car and never going to win a race.
Right.
Whatever. But if you get behind that wheel, you're competitive, you have the ability to win races, you've won races. It's almost like you have to wash away the week before, no matter how good or bad it went, because you're never as good as your best race and you're never as bad as your worst race.
Absolutely.
That's just the way you got to look at it. And I think that mental side of it can go a long way for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, because at first, like when I watched Lincoln on Flow the weekend that I missed because of me being sick, I was kind of like, man, this sucks. But then there was like, I think it was a really, really long night, or either it was a bad.
Well, it was
night.
in Lincoln, so it was a long night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, that was the night that they kept wrecking in the heat races. And actually, somebody that worked at Lincoln messaged me and was like, "Aren't you glad you're not here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Well, then the weekend that they ran BAPS, I had to miss that because when I came home from Disney, I had vertigo.
Oh.
I guess with like my sinuses and everything, so like I'd be dizzy all the time. So I was like, I am not getting behind a race car being dizzy.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm staying home from BAPS. That's true every night at Lincoln.
Yes.
I was like very thankful I didn't go, because they had like 8 or 10 cars crash that night, and I'm just like, and that was the night that the 358s kind of got in a chat group and they started like pointing fingers at one another, and I'm just like, I'm glad that I stayed in bed and just watched results on Twitter, because I was like, that sometimes I feel like everything has a purpose. And I mean, it was kind of like the same night that I was supposed to race BAP. But Flow is a problem. Sorry.
Rocky's taking
Billy,
my question.
Rocky tuned in last week and saw Ashley's opinion. He's just stirring the pot up already.
I could sit here and talk for hours with like what's part of the problem that these tracks have, but unfortunately, I'm not. To Lincoln, I'm just a driver that shows up. It doesn't matter what I have to say. I'll tell you guys this, and I'll tell anybody this. As a business owner, I would rather sell 2,000 tickets at $14, because guess what? If you sell it at $14, guarantee you they're going to spend $6 to $20 at the track to either buy a hot dog, or they're going to buy food, they're going to buy drinks, they're going to buy a souvenir. So you're going to get your money anyway. But if you're going to have like 800 people walk in at $20 and probably bring their own food, you're not going to make anything anyway.
Right.
So if I owned a track, and I know I'm just a driver, but as a business person, I would view it as, do some more for the fans, get these fans involved, kind of like with how I do my events. Get the fans involved, do for them, they're going to do for you, and they're going to show up. It's just that simple. Because I'll be honest, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. When I'm not racing Saturdays, I'm either at an auction or I'm out in the shop working on stuff for my antique business, and then I have Flow on. It saves me more money being at home.
Yep.
But it doesn't, like, when the Outlaws are in town, I'm obviously at the track, because it's not the same. I'd rather be there, experience it. Sitting at home, you don't get that experience. But if these fans don't feel like they have any benefit being there other than it being right in their face, they're not going to show up. It's just no different than us watching baseball, football, hockey.
Yep.
I would rather be at a Caps game any day. I would love to be a season ticket holder. It's not the same as sitting at home watching it on TV than watching these guys pound against the ice and everything, the fights, the whole 9 yards, banging the boards, everything.
So you're saying the event is as important as the race?
What's that?
You're saying the event is more important, or just as important as the racing?
I feel like everything that happens at the track is important.
Good answer.
And that's exactly what Justin Snyder said about a month ago when Port Royal's, how they build their races up is they want the person that comes to Port Royal Speedway to have an experience that maybe Big Tuscarora obviously has the advantage of the fair being there and everything like that, but just every event, the Weikert, whatever it is. And I think more tracks need to take that approach.
Yep.
It's really not that hard to stick a tent out in the yard, like in the parking lot, like they do the Brandon Little Memorial. stick a tent out there, ask some drivers to come, have some hot dogs out there on a grill. You got to get these people involved, because guess what? If you don't get the kids involved, you're done.
You have no next
It's just that
generation to come
simple.
to the track then.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because if you don't get they're your next generation. If you don't get the kids involved, they're not going to come. They're not going to get their own kids to come when they're, older. So it's just, there got to be something that makes the fans feel appreciated. Like when I remember being little, they used to have a lot of driver interviews. They used to do autographs a lot more that I've noticed. It just felt like a more family oriented type deal. But now you go to, like, I pull out on the track for warm-ups and it's like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And
So you're saying just calling it like Pepsi night isn't enough, or calling it,
I could care less. No offense to any, like, not including memorial races. So let's just put that out
Absolutely.
here.
Mm-hmm.
I could care less if it's Pepsi, Coke, Buffalo Wild Wings night.
That doesn't bring the fans, huh?
That doesn't
Okay.
bring the fans, unless somebody's
Oh,
handing
that paid
out
the bill.
coupons
That just
for
paid
free
someone.
wings or something like that. That's not going to get the fans there.
That's right.
And I've even told, I'm not going to say names, I've told different track owners different ideas to try to get, but it's like it didn't matter. And I'm not going to, push and shove to make anything happen. I mean, we threw T-shirts in the grandstands a couple times. And of course, you still get people to message you and be like, well, you didn't throw one to me. Or
Oh my God.
people getting ignorant about
Don't
it.
mind that.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I didn't have to do it.
Don't
But
mind
I
that.
love my fans. I love the people that don't like me either, because still you're technically putting your energy on me regardless. And you got to have people that don't like you, just like in anything. Just fans physically being there and supporting any driver is great to me. I look at the racing community as one big family. Just like your own family, there's going to be a couple thorns in the family. It's just the way it works. But we're all there for the same thing. We all love racing. I feel like the economy is definitely killing fans coming.
I agree.
And I feel like the cost of just even driving to the track is hard enough. So you got to think, the moment you pull out of your driveway, how much you're spending. You got to think of the admission to get in. Then if you got kids, they're going to be bugging you all night. I want a hot dog. I want a popsicle. I want this. I want that. So you got to kind of think of what's important before you even get to the track. I hope to see more faces this year, but I don't think taking flow away is going to fix all the issues. I really don't. It's going to suck going home and not being able to watch the race again, so I can critique myself of what I should have done or what I shouldn't have done. So there's a lot of key factors. I mean, look at Outlaws attendance when they're here. I mean, there's people that stay home and watch it, but it's still a really good attendance at the track.
Well, my thing is they have that big video board that they just paid for in the middle of the infield. Are they just not going to use it now? I don't know.
Maybe you just put Buffalo Wild Wings or Pepsi or Coke on there.
Well, standing in the pits, you have this big TV screen and can't even see the cars going by. They were also supposed to have a mascot that they talked about at Lincoln, and
interesting.
That never happened.
I thought it was Chalk Guy.
Did you say a mascot at Lincoln?
This is Chalk Guy.
They were going to talk. They talked about it when Jerry and all them took over. That was a discussion that they wanted to do something for the kids.
A grandfather clock.
I'm sure it's not easy. I'm sure it's not easy to probably come up with just any mascot, because I mean, look, I love Gritty from the Flyers, and I'm not a Flyer fan. But when they said that was their mascot, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that thing looks like a mop that just got dumped into like orange paint. But he's adorable. Like, I love him now. But at first I'm like, this is true Philly fashion.
Yep.
No offense to any Philly fans, but I just don't know what they'd come up with. But I wish, like I said, there'd be a little bit more interaction with the fans, because not everybody can stay after the races because they have kids or whatever, and nobody wants to be there when we're there till 1 o'clock
in the morning.
Most kids are like, this by the end of the night. So I wish they could do something before the races a little bit to get the fans like connected to the drivers. Same way I was connected to Greg. I feel like if these people actually had a connection to certain drivers, I feel like they'd want to be there more.
Exactly, and that's exactly why we talked about why we're doing what we're doing is because growing up, like Greg was the same guy that I remember having him sign a picture of a birthday cake I had with his Apple car on it, and that kind of started it for me, and that's why now like I take my daughter to the races and it's the 69K because that's our car. Same
Right.
idea.
Yeah, it's important for these kids to have a driver that they're attached to.
Yep.
Jimmy, who's your favorite driver? Jimbo.
I don't want to talk about it.
Come on.
I don't really have a favorite.
I was gonna say, I really don't.
My 100% favorite is Lance Deweese. He's the one that got me
wrong with that.
watching him.
I think Jeremy's staring him down the road of Danny.
Yeah, well, I'm apparently
Jimbo.
the leader. Yeah, I got called Jimbo by Danny Dietrich, so
On
apparently I'm on Twitter. So you
I
know how
still
that
think
went.
You need to log in every week as Jimbo, not Jimmy.
I should.
Lance earned my respect after the National Open when Greg passed away, and he
Yes.
dedicated the race to Greg. That was when he gained my respect. I had no issues with him before that either, but I'm just saying after he did that,
Just
that
different.
Yeah, that was awesome.
meant a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
the easy route and pointed a Jordan Givler over your shoulder there, Jimbo.
Good
I
boy.
see that.
I love Jordan. Just talking a little bit about the 358 division as a whole. I know there's some gripes over the payout and stuff, and it's something that kind of came up was I saw the speedster schedule, and they're paying $2,500 to win minimum, for speedsters. And that's not even what
that schedule.
Yeah. So
wow.
So
I mean, that's great for the speedsters.
It's great. Yeah, it is. But how does that make you feel as a 358 driver? Obviously, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to poke the bear here, but
no, you're really not. I mean, I told everybody before I even came into the deal, I knew I was going to lose money doing this anyway. So if I wanted to do this to make money, I was an idiot thinking that was going to happen. So that wasn't going to happen. So pay is important though, especially now because I mean tires are expensive. I mean everything's expensive. Let's just be honest.
Yes.
I feel like I don't know if you guys seen that's apparently a talk that we might get aluminum heads because there's a shortage of steel. That was a discussion, and then it was a big hurrah when we had the ugly 3x5 wings. But I actually liked those wings. I didn't like the way they looked. I thought they looked horrible. But I was always better on them for whatever reason. I don't know why. We had a very good setup in 2019, which is the year that I had my best career ever. And then we went to the 5x5 after that and kind of just struggled. So the guy that wanted that role so bad, he's not even in the wing business anymore. So then we had to spend all this money. I mean, not a whole lot of money, but we had to spend money to go to the 5x5. We had to get rid of our 3x5. And then we had to add more weight this year, which I'm cool with that. That's kind of like a safety deal. But watching these, like even iRacing purse is like insanity.
$10 Schell on. He just won $10,000 for 10 weeks of racing.
And I saw that. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There's no reason 358 shouldn't be getting $250 to $300 to start.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we don't put as much into our motors, and I know we don't have to.
Yeah, but that don't you make excuses for it. That doesn't matter.
No,
this is a premier division in our state. It's a premier division. It's probably the most second most popular division in our area, and it'll rival. I don't care if it says 358 or 360 on it. It's a 360 division, right? It's the second. It's the next step down from a 410. Don't make excuses for them. It doesn't matter if you spend less or not, because none of you guys are spending. None of y'all are spending less money. Like
yeah.
Everybody's always like, "Well, they'll just replace you with 305s." Okay, well,
it's not.
They get good money to start.
Well, their purse is even worse than ours. I don't even know how those guys do it.
Well, they don't have a good. They don't have a big win, but they have a pretty good throughout the field. They spread it out.
Yeah.
The overall purse isn't great, but they spread it out throughout the field to the starters, which everybody knows. You win a race in a 305, it's like $350 or something. Well, somebody knows more than I do, but it's not top heavy. It's spread out more throughout, and I think that just 358s in general, when you guys show up to the racetrack, that pulls people in, and I agree with you completely. I think it all needs to go. I don't know. There's only so much money to go around, and especially if fans aren't going to the track,
Right.
that makes it harder and harder for a track to go, sure, here you go, without a commitment from fans. But if you're not doing what it takes to get the fans in the stands, you can't pay the cars. So
I think that's a big problem Lincoln has with I feel like I can't say they want to pay us more, but I feel like if there's not fans there, as a business owner of a track, how can you justify paying the drivers more when nobody's coming in?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Super difficult for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not going to stress over purse because I knew getting into this from day
Does another
one.
$100 in winnings make you rich in your race team? So that's the other part of this.
Shocking.
Now, I'm not making an excuse for the track either. And this is just, I've been thinking about this a lot and talking with a lot of people, I'm close to that are in the game, 358, 410, whatever it is. Everyone complains about the cost and the pay, but ain't nobody out there making a living in Central PA that runs weekly, just around very few. Okay. There's one or two, maybe, but none of y'all are making a living doing it. You're just trying not to lose your ass doing it. Right.
Right.
To go out there and say, okay, if I'm going to run fifth in the 358s, I want to be paid more. Well, how much more? How much more is going to be worth it for you to feel like fifth is a win? It's just not. Or a 410 for fifth. I don't give a shit which division at this point. But none of them are going to go, well, another $100. Oh, come on. You're going to complain about that $100 more next week when you're like, that still ain't enough to cover my fuel bill, my tire bill, my thing to get to the track. The winnings you're winning from the race are not covering your cost of anything.
Right.
They're just not, because at some point you're not going to win enough money to cover the motor in the car.
Well,
like in a 358 division, you can win 10 times and not cover the cost of one engine, let alone all the other parts and all the other things that makes it to the track. So there's this thing, like that. Does the extra winnings? Yeah. Does it help? Yeah, absolutely. It helps. I'm not making an excuse for it to be less, but it's not going to turn anyone's program around to win 50 or $100 more to finish 8th.
No.
Right. So the break point areas are sponsors, and the sponsors want to be on cars when the sponsors get the publicity for being on the cars that gets them business.
Yes.
And how does that happen? Eyeballs. How does that happen? Promotion. How does that happen? Activation at the track. How does that happen? More people see it.
Flow racing.
It doesn't it's not easy, but it's also not that hard to make the equation work, in my opinion. It just, I don't know. That's my rant about that part too.
Well, that's kind of where, like, say I start 20th and there's a lot of squirrely business happening with the guys between 14th and 15th. And I see that I will tell anybody this. And I think that's why a lot of my sponsors do appreciate, because, some people just don't care and they will drive way over their head just to get that extra $10. I am not that driver. If I feel like there is no way in heck that I can pass safely with myself and the person beside me, I'll take chances, but there's a kind of a thin line as a car owner and the driver where it's just not worth it.
Right.
And some people are like, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. Well, at the end of the season, how much did you tear up compared to what I tore up? I'm not there. I mean, yes, of course I'm there to win, but if I'm starting 20th on used tires, it's hard to get up through there some nights, because if some people are hugging the bottom and there's no top, you're kind of stuck there anyway. Right. So some people don't put that into consideration, that it's not like iRacing where you can just hit the gas and just hit reset after you hit the wall. I try to reserve my equipment because I am also the car owner, and I also have a lot of respect for the people that do sponsor the car, because I don't want them to think, oh my God, she's tearing stuff up every week. So I've always been that way. I definitely know that I need to take a little bit more chances, just because I've sat back a little bit. And this year I feel like I need to kind of just take that extra. Now, I'm not going to go crazy like some guys or girls, but I definitely kind of want to be a little bit more aggressive than I've been in the past.
And do you feel like, you've had enough years experience under your belt at this point and kind of know, I think at this point you would know when is to take it, right? Do you trust the
Oh,
driver in front
absolutely.
of you? Do you have an opportunity to do it? And then can you finish it off without either tearing your car up or someone else's? So, I've watched you race a lot, and you don't make mistakes. But like you said, though,
Try not to.
you don't really make a lot of mistakes. But that also comes with sometimes not taking that chance to give you the
Absolutely.
opportunity to make a mistake, right? So, I think it's that balance, and like, hey, that it could be that night where you drew in the middle, and that one spot means for a redraw, you're there. Do I take the chance to get in a redraw, or is it just a transfer spot? Then I have to run a B and put more wear and tear on your car to
Right.
run through a B that you probably know, hey, I'll start up front in this B and I'll probably end up winning this B, but it's more laps I don't have to put on my car. I think it's just situational, right? And whether that's again, not for 15th in the A when it's for $50 or $20 or no dollars, it's the same money. Unless you're
Absolutely.
chasing points, right? You have a great start to the season. I think it's all going to be situational, and then having a confidence in yourself and saying, I'm gonna go get this and I can do this, right? So, I look forward to that for sure. I'm looking forward to see that this year. I hope that works for you. Chris and Jimmy, I'm ready for my question. Unless you guys have something else that's pressing.
No,
Uh,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because
Is
you're
this
just
the
gonna do it
question I
anyway.
heard you ask earlier?
Yeah.
Every week. Okay, this is the
We'll let him
one.
have his question, then we can move
And,
on.
and I do have to. I always explain it so it's not a personal dig at anybody because that's not what I intended this to be. I intended this to be. I should call it the Ryan Newman question, right? Because the NASCAR, if you know Ryan Newman or watch him, he
Mm-hmm.
was always notorious for being really hard to pass, right? He's just
Yep.
hard to race around, hard to pass. So that was the spirit of my question. And listen, I think in this business, we talk local, Central PA. You race with the same people every week. At some point, somebody's gonna get mad at somebody else, and I understand that. So you can take it wherever you want, but the intention and spirit of the question is kind of what I explained. So two drivers. One, you love racing around. You have a great time racing all the time. Doesn't matter when, where, how. It's always been enjoyable for you. And second is the driver that is just a thorn in your side for whatever reason.
Matt Finley has always been a good driver to race around because he's kind of in the same boat. He won't go out there and do anything stupid. We've had actually a couple races this year where we raced each other hard, and we both struggled this year a little bit in our own ways. But I know Matt wouldn't do anything hurtful to me, and I have a lot of respect for him. So I feel like anytime I'm around him, that would be one guy I could trust going on the outside of, if I did decide to move up farther than what I normally do. So he's not like the type of person I'd have to worry about. I can't really say that there's anybody in the division right now that I feel like is a thorn in my side. I'll be honest, like I used to be horrified of Doug Hamaker. We had an incident before, like I'm trying to think what year that was. 2016 maybe or 15. And it was just a racing deal, but it was a crappy racing deal. And I just kind of like after that happened, as soon as I saw Doug on the outside, I just let him pass me. I was like, I am not getting in my head, and I'm just letting him go at this point. But I feel like after Doug got hurt, I feel like he's kind of calmed down a little bit. And I can trust him more, I would say. So I just feel like there's not really anybody that I could say is a thorn anymore, because I kind of feel like the 358 division is well, I will say Chris Frank is hard to pass because we're both on the same line. So if he's on the bottom, you ain't getting past him because I ain't gonna roll
There you
on
go.
the outside of him, because normally if he's on the bottom, there's a reason he's on the bottom. So he's kind of really tough to pass because we're literally on the same line. So
I saw him make a Facebook post about that the other super like in the last couple of days, something about like he must have been getting criticized for running the bottom or something. He made a post sort of alluded right to that as like that, it's what he likes to do. It's where he likes to run. So
it's a comfort thing. I mean, people laugh about the bottom, but you know what? Donnie Kreitz has won a shit ton of races on the bottom, and
So is that Fred Raymer guy over the years. He won a lot. A
yes,
few of them. Few of them are
Greg
running
has
around the bottom
too.
at Lincoln. Yeah,
Greg has too. I
for
mean,
sure.
I feel like you have to have everybody like Monteith. He sucked on the bottom.
Oh,
He could not come
oh,
down at
he's
all.
the opposite. Yeah.
Brian Lepo used to be the same
Yep.
way. He, for the longest time, could not run the bottom. But man, you put that boy on the top, and he was wide open, and he was right on the outside of you.
Yep.
So everybody has. I mean, I'm sure they called Blaney the low rider for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because he was running the high side. So I just feel like everybody has their comfort zone, and the ones that have never driven a car, when you get in a car, it's completely, I mean, I obviously thought things before when I didn't race either, but it looks easy on the outside. But when you're in the car, like, what your car's supposed to do. Like, if you try something, like, say you're running the middle and it just doesn't work, or if you move up higher and you feel like you got absolutely nowhere, you're going to come back down and just run your comfort zone. It's just how racing works.
Yep, for sure. Chris.
Yeah, my question for you, Ashley. So if you had to pick one race to win in a sprint car or anything, what would it be?
Like a 358 race, or
Any
Any
favorite
sprint
race
car
if you got
at
to
any
pick.
track to
Knoxville
win.
Nationals.
Have you been out to Knoxville? You going out
I have
before?
not. I want to, though.
Okay, 2023 sounds like the year.
Let's
Let's go to Knoxville.
That depends how racing's going by August.
All right, I like that. Awesome.
But I feel
Jimmy,
like Knoxville's a big.
It's the one, right? It's the Knoxville
Oh, yeah.
Nationals.
Yeah.
I can't argue that.
But the Kings Royal's also a special event too. But I feel like Knoxville has so much more behind it, especially knowing, like, when just watching guys in Victory Lane when they win the Knoxville Nationals, that just tells the tune right
yeah, it's
there.
different
How
than any other race.
important that race is.
Yeah, and I think it's when you look at a national scale, the Knoxville Nationals definitely has that mystique and that emotion. When you have one of our local guys win the National Open, it has that same feel
Absolutely.
for a local guy, right? So I think if you take that on a local scale, National Open, now every driver everywhere wants to win National Open, but you take that emotion of the National Open and you take that and say, what would that be nationally? It's Knoxville Nationals, right?
Yes.
So I can't argue with any of those. I mean, yeah.
Jimmy, what you got?
Oh, paint
ahead.
scheme and sponsors, Jimmy. So Ashley recently just released new paint scheme for 2023. Yes. And I think it's going to be on the screen
there
now.
you go. Looks awesome.
It looks awesome. I love
Thank
the red,
you.
white, black, blue. It's perfect.
Yeah, looks great.
So while that's on the screen, tell us a little bit about your sponsors. Who helps you get up and down the road? Jimmy, that was a handoff to you.
Gettysburg Trading Post has been with me pretty much my whole career now. They took over the main sponsor position in 2021 at Brian's Fuel and Service. They've been with us for a couple years now, since I would say 2018. Yesteryear Antiques, that's actually where I have my booth at for my business. They're new on board. Mike's Towing and Recovery, they've been with me for a couple years now as well. Stoner's Auction, they are one of the auction houses I go to a lot for the business. The Republican Club of Hanover, they've been on board for a couple years. Brenneman Painting, he does all of our body painting for the car. FK Roddens have been with me from day one. Iron Horse Trains, they are actually the owner of Yesteryear's business. They sell trains inside of there, so it was like a 2-for-1 deal. CP Carrillo, which is who I get my pistons from. DW Automotive, he is Dwayne Watson. They used to run 358s and Thunder cars, so he does all of our repair work for our vehicles. Schaefer's Oil, I've used their oil pretty much my whole career as well. Nasty Nate Racing, he's new this year as well. BAM Lifters, they're the lifters that we use on the car. And MTR Roll-Off Dumpsters, that's Mike towing's business. So, like, if you want to do like a clean out of your business or your home, they have like the roll off dumpsters that you can throw away, like all your junk pretty much. Total Seal, they do all our piston rings. So there's, I mean, a good many people that help us out. Bruce Buckwalter, he's the one that helped me bring my design that I did to life, and he made it a little bit better. So we're looking for this is our first year together doing graphics together, so I'm excited for that. Feel bad for him because his team lost last night, so I didn't even bother messaging him today because that game was a little rough at the end last night.
You're telling me.
That was sad.
Yeah, it was very sad. I was going to ask you also, you've done some cool tribute schemes throughout the years. I just wanted to get your opinion on those, just a little bit of backstory on those.
So the first one I did was 9/11. I kind of wanted to do something special for that because my uncle was a firefighter. And then I started doing firefighting myself not too long after. So I did that. I did the breast cancer, like the scheme already, because my main sponsor at the time, she was a breast cancer survivor. So was my grandmother, and not knowing in the end of 2019, my mom would have got it too. Let's see. I did a paint scheme of a really, really good friend of mine that passed away from a car accident. My number was 43 for that. He was supposed to race quads. And he didn't get to race. Like, it was all designed up and getting ready to be lettered and everything. And I used his scheme and used it on my car since that scheme never got ran on his quad. Let's see. I'm trying to think. We did the Brandon Little Memorial for a few years. I ran the Sterner Cement 69 because Pat Sterner was one of our first sponsors, and I actually won that race in 2021, but I didn't have the Sterner Cement on that year. So that was really special because my first win, I actually won on her birthday, and then my second win was on her husband Weldon's memorial race. So it's kind of just crazy how that stuff happens. Trying to think if there was anything else. After Greg passed away, I put his face and a young fan of mine that passed away inside of my numbers, one on each side. So that was really special. Trying to think. We did Make-A-Wish one year. We let the kids put their handprints on, and that's the night that the motor blew up. So Brent Shear ended up running that wing for me in warm-ups, which I thought was very nice of him to at least get the wing out there for me. I'm thinking that's it that I can really think of as far as and the Steve Smith. How could I forget that one? Especially with today being his birthday. That was very dear to my dad's heart because of him working for Steve, and that was his birthday present. So we ran that car for him.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, that's something because I've noticed. You do a lot of those different ones. We see some other drivers, they'll do one offshoot here and there, but you really go all out when you do it. And I think that's awesome. I think it really, it's a really cool deal. So
thank you. Yeah. I don't know if we have what our plan is this year. I mean, God willing, hopefully nobody dies or anything that I would feel like I would have to do that. But that's just everyday life. I don't know what we're doing for the firefighter race this year. Haven't really heard yet, but it is kind of early still. I feel like, and I don't know if you guys ever noticed this either, but I feel like the ones that run the special schemes on certain races are the ones that, not that they struggle, but I feel like those are the nights that it's hard for those cars to be the ones in victory lane. And it's something that I've noticed with other people. Like, I thought it'd be cool if Justin Peck won in the 73 for the Kramer Clash, and I don't think it ended up happening. So I thought that would have been cool. I've seen a lot of different tribute cars, and of course, like all over the world, I'm like, I really hope that they win tonight for their special purpose. And I remember when Tim Wogman won the firefighter race and the car, that was really cool.
Did Monteith ever win the Sterner with the Sterner wing?
I believe he did.
I think he might have, right? Because that was one of the of a premier, multiple time winner puts it on a car, like you're gonna have that shot. Not that no one else does,
Right.
but like that would make sense to me because I know that he ran that multiple years. I want to
Yeah.
say when he was still kind of rolling along there. Um, what was I forget what I was going to say. There was something about it. One of the special schemes in a win. Oh, you said you won the Weldon one year where you didn't have a wing on. That Weldon Sterner Memorial race is one of my favorite, like low key, not like overly publicized national races.
Yeah.
I love that race. I don't know why. I've been to that for whatever reason. My schedule's always aligned. I'm at that race every year because they always play that version of the ride.
Oh
Every
yeah.
the
She's a huge Dale Earnhardt fan. So
the Dale
she.
Earnhardt song every year, and that for whatever even the last couple of years where like there was a few years where that race was like a big paying race and it paid out more money and it was like a thing. And I think the last couple of years, I don't know if it's been quite as an event, but I end up making that race every year, and I always like stop and like that's pretty cool. Like I don't know why, I just dig that one.
Tyler said Lance won in the
Yep.
461 design at Port.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay,
Yeah.
see,
I forgot
that is
about
cool.
that.
Yeah. That is neat when that happens for sure. When the time like the Tim Wagon one, I wasn't at that year, but I remember like he didn't win. He wasn't like he's not a guy who wins 10 races a year every year. And he had the special scheme on that year and won that race. That was super
Yeah, that
cool
was
that
really
night.
cool.
Yeah, because he led like I think he might have started up front and led like that whole thing or something.
Yeah.
And it was just super cool because he was Tim's kind of an underdog in a sense. He's not an underdog. Everybody knows him, but he's not a guy like I said wins 10 races. So it was still like okay, that was cool. Like it just like it
Yeah.
was meant to be that night for sure.
So yeah, I think tribute cars though are definitely neat for it. Gives
Makes the
like
races
fans
special.
something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Where's Hodnan at? He is currently knocked out. He had to get blood work done today for heartworms and something else. They double checked, and it was negative. And then he had to get his Lyme shot and his Lyme disease shot, and what was the other one? Oh, his rabies shot. So he's back on antibiotics again because he had an infection a couple weeks ago in his foot, and I guess it was so deep down into his foot that it came back. It's not as bad as it was, but they put him back on antibiotics, so he's probably just out.
Funny story. Chris had the same stuff done today, so he got his rabies shot, and
Oh yeah,
he's ready to be knocked out. He's not feeling the best. He had all the same stuff done today.
Not quite, but yeah, I'm sitting here like between sweating
well,
and then like
hopefully
I
you're not
take my
out biting people then if you have rabies.
not until race season, man.
Well, speaking of race season, before we let you go, what are your plans for 2023? Anything different than years past, or?
A little bit. I actually told everybody at my fundraiser Saturday, we're gonna run this season as if it's my last, just because you should live your life every day like it's your last. So that's kind of like my motto for this year. I want to go have fun this year, so we're gonna do some 360 races. I wanted to go to Bedford, and I want to go to Big Diamond for the 360 show and the 358 show. I want to possibly hit Port Royal for the Speed
Nice.
Week show. I guess it all kind of depends how our season goes. I do have some. Let me pull it up on my phone because I have it written down. I sat here and wrote it down the other night. We're not going to hit the BAPS race on the 26th just because of the four race deal with the tires. I don't want to buy any of the tires that we can run currently new if I absolutely don't have to. So I just want to try to start the year off. We might go to Lincoln to shake the car down with the 410s, maybe just tag the back of the field and just kind of get some laps just to make sure everything's good, possibly. Lincoln, as much as we can. I want to do possibly Bridgeport if I can tolerate putting the fire extinguisher in the car. I saw how big that bottle is, and it kind of concerns me a little bit, but I want to kind of see how that plays out by the end of the year. So we might run all 3 Bridgeport shows at the end of the year. Cool. And I also want to do the BAPS race on the 27th of May.
Nice.
So, and there is a couple Grove shows that I have in here, but it's kind of like a tentative type deal, depending on my dad's DJing, the auction business, or the antique business going to auctions and stuff, but there is a couple Grove shows in there. So I guess we'll kind of see what happens.
Awesome deal. Well, we wish you the best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Cool to see you getting out a little bit and doing some different stuff. That's gonna be pretty exciting. And like I said, wish you the best of luck. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's getting late here, so we really appreciate you.
I
Go
got
get some
another 2
rest.
hours. Well, maybe not with how
Right.
I didn't get home till like 2 o'clock, so I might not be up as late as I usually am. But thank you again for having me. It's definitely, you guys are definitely doing a great thing, and I try to get on as much as I can to watch because you guys are definitely doing a good job.
Appreciate that.
And looking forward to seeing what other guests you have on this year, because it's nice. I mean, obviously you race against these guys and you see them at the track, but you don't know a whole lot about them, so it's nice to kind of know who you're racing with and kind of understand people, because I mean, nowadays everybody's so quick to make judgment of people, and they don't really know their story and their background and like why they do the things that they do. Like when people always say, "Oh, why aren't you doing this race or that race?" It's like, racing doesn't pay the bills. Me going to auction does. So it's just nice to kind of know. And it's nice to see like you guys having great questions for us drivers too, because that's not always easy to come up easy either. Oh my gosh. Maybe I should go to bed. To come up with questions, because if you don't have good questions, you ain't gonna have a good show.
Yeah.
We like to know, so we want to find out. We're inquisitive people. We want to find out more. So, Jimmy and Chris, we're gonna come up and introduce. Have you guys met her in the pits at all?
No.
They're
I
gonna be in the
don't
pits
bite.
more this. They're gonna be in the pits more this season.
I don't
so
have
we'll
a
come by
rabies
and
shot
see you.
though, so
Well, Chris will be good. He'll be fine. Well,
Jimmy will put me on the leash.
yeah. We'll make sure we come up, say hi to you, and
Okay.
we'll get Chris. We're gonna get Chris and Jimmy in the pits more this year, and kind of put faces to names, and in person. So good luck to you this
Hopefully at
year.
the
Sounds
icebreaker.
great. Stop
Yeah,
by
at the
anytime. You
icebreaker,
guys
hopefully.
are definitely welcome to stop by. Even if you want to stand on the trailer and hang out, you're more than welcome to do that too.
Chris has a tendency of falling off, so we try not to let him up there
I've
too high.
never been on a trailer.
He's never
Okay.
We gotta get some energy out of Chris. He was a little sleepy. I'm trying to get him going.
We're just picking
that
on
kind
him.
of day, man.
It's not that bad, I promise.
I've had nothing done today. It's just been a slug.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Take care. Good luck in 2023.
Thank
you.
you. Have a good
See ya.
night, guys.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashley.
Awesome. That was an awesome interview. Awesome show tonight, guys. I really enjoyed that. Enjoyed everybody here in the comment section. Had a lot of interaction, which is always great. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody's comments, but I feel like we got to most of them. And final thoughts, guys.
I don't know. I might be crying. My eyes watering.
It's okay.
No, that was fun.
Are you crying because the Eagles lost? It's okay.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the last thing I'd cry about. No, that was good. It was unique. That was different. Different perspective from Tyler, both on the iRacing side to a little bit of his involvement in our local racing scene, helping out a local team. He's a smart kid. He's very involved. He keeps up with the sport. Like, he's knowledgeable. He really pays attention. And and then Ashley's perspective of car owner, driver. One thing we didn't really get into is woman in the sport. We didn't get into that. I really wish we might have to have her back and talk about that some more, because that's a unique perspective. Unfortunately, us dumb men didn't really talk about there. And
I think there's just so much stuff that she brought up that was so interesting on its own that there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah,
100%. No, that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, Chris, anything else?
No, I think it was awesome. I look forward to seeing Ashley this season and following along to see how she does, and maybe one day I'll beat Tyler Schell on something. And yeah,
Same. Jimmy, I got to do, if it's just 1 week, Daytona 500 pick.
Ooh.
If we talk about asphalt, who's your Daytona 500 pick?
I'm going Bubba Wallace. I'm not even letting Jimmy answer.
I'm going Denny Hamlin.
You're an idiot.
I mean, that's not a very.
I don't know. No, I'm not going out on a ledge there. I do think Toyota's going to show up. So I don't hate the Bubba Wallace pick either, or Tyler Reddick or somebody like that. But
Same.
Daytona's so hard to predict. But honestly, Hamlin seems to be one of the most consistent guys at that track somehow, some way.
I'm going Chris Buescher.
Ooh, I like that pick.
I think Ford's going to get in line. Buescher's a good plate guy. He's going to go get it, man. The only other one would have been Priest. That would have been the other guy. Like I don't know if Daytona's his thing, but like I like Buescher this weekend. I have no idea why.
I kind of want like a Keselowski or Kyle Busch to finally win it for the first time.
That would be kind of cool.
Just because be cool. But like, I mean, I still think Bubba Wallace is going to win this thing.
The main thing I want to see is Kyle Larson finish a damn speedway race because he just has
I'm a
hard
Harvick
time.
fan, and it's the same thing. Harvick never finishes these damn things. He's always caught up in it.
That would be cool to see him win his final Daytona 500. I think that would be really cool.
What about what would your thoughts be if Jimmy Johnson were to win this thing?
I want to see if he makes the show first.
I was just gonna say that. Let's see if he can even make the show first. It's gonna be cool because the duels are gonna be more than ever. I mean, I know there's always cutoff cars.
6 cars for 4 spots.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some,
but they're all
big
good
names not in. Like
they're all
Pastrana.
big they're all big names that they're going to be fighting for. It's not going to be
like BJ McLeod. I mean, he's
he's a charter,
he's locked
so he's in. So
yeah,
exactly.
I think it's Chandler Smith,
Travis Pastrana, Connor Daly, Jimmy Johnson, Zane Smith. Yeah, so some bigger names that have talent. That
those 5 years listed, one of them's going home, but like I don't know.
But Cody Ware,
I'm not having practice. Yeah,
Cody
and BJ McLeod.
I heard it was funny. I was driving home I listened to NASCAR and Sirius XM, and someone said that their pick was Cody Ware to win, and he was dead serious.
I'm out.
Yeah, I can't even laugh.
Thank
you, everybody.
On that note, we're out.
Hit us up, message us who you want to see on here. We're always open to suggestions. And if you got contacts, send them our way. We'll get them on the show here. Tentatively next week, our biggest show yet?
Yeah, it'll
question mark
might be our biggest show.
Maybe. I mean, the people that we want to have on next week don't know we want to have them on. but no, that's not the case. But seriously, tune in next week. This is only continue to grow, and I've loved every week that we've had guests, and it's hard to go, hey, next week's bigger.
Yeah. They've all been.
I feel like that every time we get done a week, I'm like, man, I'm looking forward to next week already.
Yeah.
And I feel that way every single week. And as we get closer to race season, it gets me more hyped for what's about to happen. So I'm hoping to hit up maybe a race shop this weekend, maybe another engine shop, maybe Motorama, some stuff. There's some stuff going on with some people. But Motorama this weekend, I want to go out and go into the main arena, shoot some dirt bikes and some quads. And a year ago this weekend, it's the first time I got my racing lens. I got that and went out and shot it for the first time this past year. So I want to go back this year and see if I can see what I improved from last year to a year now. And I can't even imagine. I loved what I got last year. So I can't even imagine how it'll go this year. So I'm excited for that. As long as I can get there, some other things, personal life going on schedule wise. So hoping I can get out there this weekend. And then we got Daytona. Okay. By the way, am I the only one that thinks it's completely strange that Daytona qualifying is on Wednesday?
There's no practice until after.
Yeah,
that I'm not concerned about because they didn't really televise practice back in the day.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're Jimmy Johnson or Travis Pastrana, how do you feel
Connor
about
Daly, you're taking your first laps on pole qualifying.
Learn how to pull pit road and qualify.
I do agree. I do agree. Sunday was the good day to have qualifying.
Sunday,
they could at least
noon qualifying. NASCAR. My whole childhood, adult.
They could at least
at 7.
Yeah, they could at least have like a rookie qualifying because they do. Or a rookie practice because don't they do
just think
like
of
Indy 500?
Go back to COVID year when Larson blew the motor because they left a thing in the radiator for Talladega because there was no practice or qualifying. If I was a team, now obviously that's extreme, but don't you want to shake down your stuff before your dual race? I would expect, even if you're locked in.
Yeah, of course they do. They hate this.
Give them 20 minutes.
Does that make qualifying even more irrelevant than ever? Does it really matter other than the pole winner? Like, does it matter?
It does for those.
It
does for
now.
those 6 guys because
for 7 guys, the 6 unlocked in and the pole winner.
Your qualifying spot doesn't really matter because
it doesn't matter
the type of racing it is.
It's Daytona, right?
Yeah.
Do you think anyone's going to focus on qualifying? No one knows what each other has. So like back in the day, it used to be okay. We went out and did a mock qualifying run, and look, we're not fighting for the pole here, so we don't really give a shit. We're gonna go run our lap and go do our duel and race in our duel. No one gave a shit because you could go out and qualify 25th, go out and finish third in your duel, and that's where you start. It only matters for the 6 not locked in and the winner of the pole.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and now it's on a Wednesday night. I don't know. I just
Well-
think it loses the mystique of it. The duels are worth. The duels mean a million times more than the qualifying.
Yeah. Well, probably the person that means the most towards is going to be Alex Bowman, because
Alex
he's going for
Bowman.
like 6 or 7 straight now, being on the front row, which is
Yeah.
insane to even think of. But Hendrick's always dialed in on pole day.
Always.
So,
And that's what it'll end up being probably again. It'll be whatever team hit on something that they didn't maybe even know they hit on. And both of theirs or all their cars are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what do we sit there and watch that for 3 hours? Like, I don't know.
I'm more excited about what I'm more excited about on Wednesday night is our Daytona race, our clash. We finally get our season underway with Full Throttle Next Gen League.
Do you think I should have practiced at all?
No. Yeah, it's because it's fun, but no.
Daytona.
It's fun. Daytona's fun.
Is it? Is it though? Because I don't know if I've ever finished a Daytona race in my iRacing
probably because
career.
you haven't practiced.
I don't think that's the case. I've rarely caused the wreck that I end up in.
Well, you got to practice not being.
You got to practice avoiding the wrecks.
Oh, that's what it is.
and knowing who's going to cause the wreck.
Yes.
Everyone.
Aaron, you guys gonna try the on iRacing? They're doing the full length Daytona 500. I think I want to try to hit that.
I'm gonna try it, but there's no percent chance I finish it.
Yeah.
That's what I just said, and you're giving me shit for it.
Well, it's a lot longer than our
official.
30-lap race.
Yeah, that's 500 miles.
Yeah. So.
All right, boys. Fun stuff. Let's get out of here. Chris, we're
Thanks,
just dragging
everyone.
this on. Torture for Chris at this point.
Yeah.
Let him get out of here. Get some rest, buddy. Hope you feel better.